Good morning, Raptor Freaks. Alexiot's here on a Tuesday morning after a very, very disappointing loss to the Indiana Pacers. We have now lost two games of the three that we're playing against them this season, so they have won the season series. So this is another Eastern team that has already won the season series against us. Oh man, it really sucks. If you had told me that we were going to have lost the season series to Indiana already at this point in the season, I would have told you you're crazy when we started this season, but this is where we're at, and it's a really not a good look. And yeah, this is a tough time. This is a very tough week so far to the new year in all kinds of different ways. And these games last night were crazy, both of them. I say games because the 905 did a very similar thing to what the Raptors did in Indiana. They had a double-digit lead. In fact, they had like a 20-point lead at one point, I believe. Let me look. What was their highest lead in the game? In this game, 905 against Long Island Nets. They at one point had they don't have that stat on their box score. Oh well. They had like a 20-point lead in the middle of the game. And by the end of the game, they lost to Long Island. And the Raptors had a really good lead at times against the Pacers. And in the end, they lost also. And it's really interesting that both teams lost partly because of the same thing, that we have no bench production at all. Like, it's crazy. All right. So one of the things I said yesterday is we can't let Indiana get 30 points a quarter. Well, they did. They got 30 points a quarter. They were pretty successful at getting 30 points each quarter. They got over to 120, which was a big no-no as far as what I was hoping wouldn't happen. Because I know that we just don't have the firepower. That there's a lot of different things going on with our team right now that is limiting how many points we can actually score. It's like we have a cap on how high we can get with our scoring total because of a couple things. We don't have enough guys that are actively contributing in a regular way. And that's not totally their fault. And it's not totally Nick Nurse's fault for not playing them. It is Nick Nurse's fault to a degree. But it's also the same time, it's kind of like, I don't understand this. It's like, in some ways, I really don't understand what he did last night. Why are you overplaying people so much that, at the end of the game, those guys were too tired to keep up with Halliburton and the rest of them? That you played the starters so many minutes last night without mixing in other people that they were just completely gassed by the end of the game. Are you doing this on purpose, Nick Nurse? Because in some ways, the way you coached the game last night makes me think that you're a big part of a stealth tank, that you may be the one who is making us lose on purpose by overplaying these guys. Because when you do not get any bench help, this is a really big difference between us and the Pacers. The Pacers have really good bench scoring, and it showed once again. I mean, we can look at the bench scoring from last night, and it's insane. We scored 7 points off our bench out of 114 points. We got 7 out of that. That just means that the starting lineup, in particular, 4 guys got 98 points for us. 4 guys got 98 points of our 114 points last night. That is too heavily concentrated. The later games go and the more high the score goes up, the harder it is for us to do stuff when 4 guys have to get 98 of our 114 points. Meanwhile, on the other side of things, their bench gets 40. Wait, hang on. Let me count it. 4, 5, 50, 54 points. Their bench gets 54 points. Our bench gets 7. And I'm like, well, there's an easy place where we can increase scoring. Why aren't we getting more bench production? Well, because he ain't fucking playing them, which I just don't get. I mean, listen, there's a couple of DMPs that I just can't get behind when the game was like it was last night, and we could have used these guys, and they would have been fine. You know the 2 names I'm going to say? Jeff Doughton Jr. and Ken Birch. That's another, besides this bench problem with no bench scoring and him not playing them, the other problem is that he didn't establish any low post defense in this game at all. There was a wide open front door for getting to our basket and scoring on us easily last night at any point. In fact, it was so wide open, and it doesn't seem, it's not as egregious looking as the Clippers with Zubac, because there's no Zubac, but actually there is. There were 2 guys They got double-doubles on the Pacers side that absolutely ate us up down low last night. Miles Turner, obviously, but also Dennis Smith or Jalen Smith or whatever Smith. You know the Smith guy I'm talking about. Jalen Smith off the bench, 11 points, 11 rebounds. Miles Turner, 18 points, 10 rebounds. And a lot of that is Nick Nurse not playing with any kind of center or any kind of position person that is actually taking care of the paint. There's so many times when, Scotty's down there and he's kind of supposed to be this guy, but he's rotating every which way. He's coming out to get the shooter. And quite often, right near the basket is wide open and just an easy lob to the guy and a dunk. And that is unacceptable. That looked like Tampa Bay shit. That looked like stuff that we would do down in Tampa when we played down there. They're just leaving it wide open for everybody to just stroll on in and just put a basket in. Well, that is why I'm pissed off that Kem Birch did not play last night. Malachi did not have it again last night, and he played for not very long, which was good. But I was hoping, all right, he can't play. Give Jeff a shot. Get him out there and see if he can make some points off the bench, get some threes, do stuff. But no shot for him either. Let's just overplay the 5 starters. Let's get them all around 40 minutes, except for Fred, and just tire them the hell out so that they're all holding their knees by halfway through the fourth quarter. And then you expect them to out-hustle, out-energy, outplay the Pacers, who have done a good job staggering their team with exhaustion and not have completely gassed and burnt out their crucial, important players. Yeah, what's up with that, Nick? I mean, you burnt them out like light bulbs by the end of the game. And I you know what? Listen, I'll commend the guys I want to commend. 3 stars of the game last night, sure. They worked their asses off. In fact, I can't get mad at them because they played really well. And the number 1 star is Scotty Barnes. Scotty Barnes got a double-double last night. 23 point. No, wait, he didn't get a double-double, but he was close. He could have almost got a triple-double, honestly. He got 23 points on 8 of 14 shooting. He made 1 3, 6 of 8 at the free throw line, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, 2 blocks, a plus 16. So he had the best plus minus on our team last night. To me, that means he was out there when we were winning. And Scotty, you are my number 1 star, even though you weren't the leading scorer, just because you had a plus 16. And that's just impressive. 8 of 14 from the field. Once again, you're doing amazing down low things where you're just scoring at will. You were rebounding. You were really active. You were all over the place. I can't get mad at Scotty. 2nd star, Gary Trent Jr. Once again, stellar. 32 points. 11 of 18 shooting. 5 of 10 from 3. 5 of 6 at the line. 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Plus 1. He was a plus positive too. So, I can't get mad at those 2 guys. Those guys got 55 of our points. So they got almost half our points just between the 2 of them. And then you got to throw Siakam in there. 26 points is the 3rd star, 9 of 17, 2 of 4 from 3, 6 of 7 from the free throw line, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. He continued his 25 points per game streak. He has continued to still get 20. Now, those 3 guys for sure, fantastic, 3 stars, exemplar play, really, really good stuff. And then OG, sure, add him into there, 17 points, 7 of 20, not shooting the best, 3 of 11, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. He did have some ugly turnovers, and he had some weird stuff to him too, as far as what he was doing out there. Now, Fred missed very crucial threes late. Jordan Bolton on Twitter was saying, why aren't you going to the hot hand? Meaning Gary Trent Jr. That why is Fred taking clutch shots late when he is sucking at hitting his shot right now? And once again, he did. I mean, this is the thing. We lost by 8 points last night. Fred hits 3 more threes. That's 9 points. And he got those opportunities. He shot 3 of 12 from 3. If he just makes half his threes, or just a few more points somehow, some way, instead of being 3 for 15, we win last night. So we really do go with the way Fred does in clutch. That was a whole key to our success last season. Freddie being clutch and hitting clutch threes to carry us home last year. And he can't do it right now. This year he has been failing at this a lot, and it sucks because it's kind of it feeds into itself. the confidence and the problems. It's like this is something like a couple weeks ago. Fred had the same kind of stuff where he have a 3 for 15 game, barely score any points, and not get double digits. And then it's like he says after the game in the interview, I have to be better. And that's just the truth, Fred. You've got to be better to help us win because you are so essential to taking us home for the victory at the end of the game. And when you don't have it, we don't have it. And we just don't make it. We just don't make it. We had our opportunities last night. We had the ability to win this game last night, but a lot of things went wrong late in the game. The referees were awful. Yes, the referees did do a hit job, and they did do some fucked up shit last night for sure. And we can talk about all that for sure. But I want to make sure I cover every single little thing that went wrong with us last night, whether it's neglecting the bench, just not playing the bench, having no faith in the bench. Nick, I don't know what you're doing. Why you can't play some of these guys that got DMPs last night. Why we can't guard the low post and protect our net near the basket. Like we have nobody defending right around the rim. I mean, their points in the paint for the Pacers last night were ridiculous compared to ours. I mean, let's look at the team stats real quick. They actually did outshoot us by the end of the game, but at halftime we were outshooting them, and they ended up outshooting us, even getting more field goal attempts and shooting a higher percentage. We did better at 3-point than them. We got more threes than them. We did shoot more and shoot a worse percentage, but we made 4 more threes than them. I like that. That means we limited their threes and beat them in that category, which was probably one of the most important categories to win in, but we did not do enough at everywhere else. They did outshoot us at the free throw line. They did get to the free throw line more than us, and that was really fucked up bullshit. At one end of the court, Siakam finishes a play after a foul, and he gets a side out and a foul on the floor and no continuation. And then the other end, they give a guy continuation in almost the same exact kind of way. I think it was Jalen Smith. They gave him continuation at the other end, almost on the next play. And I'm just like, yeah, these refs are fucked, man. These refs are fucked, and the way that they're calling this game is not fair. And Kugat in particular was pissing me off. Brent Haskell, James Williams is not our friend. He's fucked up. And those challenges and all the different things that happened with the refs last night were really screwed up. They out-rebounded us. This is a battle we should have won. 50-36. Precious is back. Come on, guys. Out-rebound the Pacers. We did get our magic number for assists, 26 assists. I like it. There was a lot of free flowing and passing and going every which way, and that was really good. In fact, we saw Precious return last night, and his first basket coming back was an alley-oop dunk from Scotty that just looked so awesome. I loved seeing that when he first came back. We won the turnover battle. But they won the points in the paint by plus 20. 62 points in the paint for the Pacers. That makes it so easy. It's like it was a flipped game. They usually beat people at the 3-point line, and they beat us down next to the basket last night. What the fuck, Raptors? What the fuck, Nick Nurse? And seriously, I am going to blame Nick Nurse. Like, there's a couple of games this year that I just have to blatantly just say it's fucking Nick Nurse's fault. And this one last night is Nick Nurse's fault. I don't like blaming the coach too often, but on this one, I have to, because he really did not manage his team correctly last night. He did not do rotations correctly. He way overplayed the 5 starters. And I don't know why you did that, Nick. I have no idea why you're doing this shit, other than maybe you are trying to stealth tank. And that this is why you overplay the starters like this. You can't do this anymore. Can't you see that these guys have no juice at the end of the game when it's the most important time to try and come back and win or keep the lead and win? It's like you're setting us up to fail and lose because our target score is always going to be way lower than most average NBA teams can put up there. We see Donovan Mitchell drop 71 points last night, and they got 145 points. There's no way we beat Cleveland when they score like that. There's no way we can score 130 points because of the way our team is offensively right now. It's like we have not built up the offensive goodness on our team in the right ways so that we can have abundance to be able to do that, to match people scoring. We really have to rely on defense. And if we do not have a good defensive effort, the other team is able to score as much as they want, we're going to lose. We're going to lose because we can't fill up the water jug as high as their water jug is. because we just don't have that kind of water jug at this point. And I really do blame Nick for not developing and using our bench better. All these other teams have bench guys. This is bullshit. You don't trust them. You don't think that they're going to do well. I fucking trust the hell out of Kent Birch and Jeff Doughton Jr. as a fan, and I don't understand why you can't either. Nick, why can't you fucking trust them? You need to be able to trust these guys. And I hate this. This is a pattern you've been showing for the last 3 years where you do not invest time in the bench and developing them and getting them to be active, regular contributors to our games night in, night out. It's such bullshit, and I'm sick of it, Nick. You've got to use these guys because it looks really bad today. And the people that are saying fire Nick Nurse, in some ways, they're right. I don't think we should fire him still, but I still think that he's fucked for doing this. And Fred's the other one. You know, Fred, you got to step up, man. I know that was your first game back, and maybe you had some rust and different things like that, but you cannot be like this, bro. You cannot afford this. Just like Siakam cannot afford to be tired, you cannot afford to suck because you are so important for us to win. Fred VanVleet. All right, there's my whole spiel on that. I'll do one more thing before I check y'all's comments because I do want to get into y'all's comments. Don't get me wrong. It's just I wanted to make sure I covered every single thing for sure about last night's loss that really bugged me, and I saw about why they lost. Now, like I said, 905, they lost their game in a similar way. They came out gangbusters and kicked some ass. They were up 37-16 after the first quarter, and they were just kicking a lot of butt. But in the second quarter, they had a messed up quarter, and they kind of gave it all back. We're only leading by 1 at halftime. But yeah, it was a tough game. They played really well for a lot of the game, but then in the end, they let Long Island come back and win. The number one star for the Raptors 905 last night was Saben Lee. 22 points, 9 of 16 shooting, 6 rebounds, 9 assists, 4 steals, a +3. Pretty good game by Saben Lee. I don't like Saben Lee's game, and I don't like that he was the guy last night. In fact, I think that had something to do with why we lost. Because listen, Delano was really bad last night. He only got 4 points. He shot 2 of 2. But he didn't shoot much, and they benched him late in the game. It was really weird. He played 32 minutes, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. So he was getting stats. He was stuffing the stat sheet, but he just didn't have it. And for some reason, they benched him, and he didn't play the important parts of the game, which was really weird to me, Delano Banton. The second star of the game was Ron Harper Jr., 20 points, 10 rebounds, a double-double for Ron, 9 of 22 from the field. He was 1 for 10 from 3, which I don't necessarily like, but he got a double-double, and I got to reward that. Reggie Perry, the third star, 23 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and a block, 7 for 17. See, nobody really played that well on 905 in a lot of ways than maybe Saben Lee. The rest of the guys all shot poorly. And once again, we didn't get any bench production from this team either. That we got outscored by the Long Island Nets off the bench pretty badly in this game. And that is a big part of the difference, is that we're relying so much on starters to manufacture the scoring for both the 905 and the regular Raptors. And the bench suffers. So we suffer. And that is really what's going on with these teams right now, is that our benches are suffering, and we suffer because the benches are not playing. And it really sucks. I hate it so much. All right, let me check in with the comments now. Thanks for letting me do my spiel on everything last night. There's your stars for the game and my overview of how I feel about how the Pacers game was lost and stupid shit like that I'm angry about talking about today. Nameless is saying, I know our bench was outscored like 50-7, but I believe that statistic is misleading and not indicative of their play, rather a clear sign of ref manipulation. We put in the bench, refs went to work. Nobody outscores anybody 50-7. I don't care how bad your roster may be. That's not even real. No, it is real, Nameless. And it really is. Like, I understand what you're saying. And there was a period of time where we had a good lead, and then we put the bench in and everything fell to shit. And that may be like where Nick kind of was like, okay, we can't play the bench for the rest of the game. And he really did ride the starters for like almost the whole quarter and like a couple of the quarters. Like they played the majority of the fourth quarter. And I didn't agree with that at all. It was weird. He would let Precious come out there and play, even though he just came back from being away for so long. But he won't let these other guys play at that time. And Chris Boucher did not play enough last night. I don't even know what he did to not be able to get back in the game, because he was fine. I thought he played with a lot of energy when he was in for that little bit of time. But Chris ended up at the end of the game only getting 4 minutes. Like, how the hell does he only get 4 minutes? He got that really good offensive rebound, and then boom, we never saw him again. And that pissed me off. I was just like, this is weird, and I don't like it. It is a really big problem because this is really wrong. It's messed up. The Pacers have a good bench scoring, and they're the antithesis of us. And we see what wins out. The Rick Carlisle usage of many different guys in useful ways beats Nick Nurse's scarcity of just playing the fucking starters and not using anybody else. I'm so sick of this shit, Nick. Just use your fucking bench and give them some minutes. You got to spread it out, because the way that went last night is just really, really showed it egregiously how bad your philosophy of doing what you're doing with the starters, riding them too hard, really makes us lose. That last night is the exact example, the epitome example of this. And listen, the refs, sure, they may have been a problem in certain ways. They didn't give respect to some of our players. They called some shady ass shit. There was some opportune calls that were at really bad times that kind of fucked up our momentum at times. Yeah, they did all the regular ref manipulation stuff. But still, we had every opportunity to win this game last night, and we didn't execute. We didn't make shots when it really mattered down the stretch. And we let them make a lot of shots when we should have been stopping them and not letting them score. So there was a lot of fuck ups in that. Cool Cat is here. Good morning, Cool Cat. Good morning, Raptor-Freak crew. We lost game on 3-point shooting. Not only one or designated 3-pointer shooters produce. Gary Trent Jr., OG off, Fred VanVleet off, gutted for Fred and the entire team. Pascal's improvement this year might be a waste. Well, sometimes, the thing with Pascal having good numbers this year partly is because we're having a hard year, that he has to step up and carry so much. So it's not always like, when a guy has a career year, sometimes it is when the team has a shitty time overall. So I'm not always that great about people having career years, and I don't look at it as a waste. He basically has to do this for us to be who we are this year, and it sucks. But it's all going to look good for him. But something came up yesterday, and I think it's right. We're not going to get anybody on the All-Star team this year. We're not even going to get Pascal, because we don't have a good enough record. That we're in the cellar of the Eastern Conference. And Frank Isola said this yesterday. He said Pascal Siakam won't be an All-Star until the Raptors have a winning record. And I think he's right, because the NBA looks at us that way. And that if we are a losing record, they're not going to give us an All-Star. We're not even going to get Pascal on the team, y'all. And that's going to be really sad and fucked up, considering the great year that Pascal's having. But this is very, very could happen. I mean, it may not. They may still put him on there just to give him respect and say, yeah, this guy is one of the best players in the league. But I could also see them majorly sliding us, since we're irrelevant and we're a losing team right now. And it may mean that, even though Siakam's had amazing games, doing so well, 25-point games in a row, we may not get a rep on the All-Star team this year. So I hate it. And this is another reason why they need to get it going and get things going. But yeah, the 3-point shooting last night, we won. We actually beat them in 3-point shooting. And I'm not upset about that in some ways, other than Fred. I just need Fred to make a couple more. Gary, 5 of 10. That's great. OG, 3 of 11. That's not so good either. He could have made more of those threes too. But a lot of his threes were kind of contested and really under pressure. But Freddie, man, you have all these open threes that you're missing, and this is no good. This is absolutely no good. I really thought we were going to do really well in the game, because right away, Pascal came out and hit 2 threes. Right away. And whenever Pascal hits 2 threes in a game, we usually have a good win percentage. But those were the only 2 threes he made for the rest of the game. And that's too bad. There's a lot of about this game. There's a lot of Monique's here. Good to see Raptor superfan Monique. Good morning, everyone. All the credit in the world to Gary Trent Jr., and he is a trading piece, which is yet sad, playing out of his mind lately. Wow. Keep pushing through, everyone. Go Raptors always. Good game, Pascal. Yeah, Gary, I can't be upset with him. He's playing really solid. He's doing it whether he's starting or not, and he has a couple of 30-point games in a row now. And he is really playing for his own self-interest in some ways, but at least he's thriving and doing well for that. Yeah, I am Monique. I'm. You know what? Listen, I'm going to say this: we make every situation with the Raptors a no-lose scenario. So even though we're losing, and even though it looks like we're going to go down the tubes in our season this year, we're going to make this a no-lose scenario, just like Tampa. That this will be something good for the Raptors in the long run. It's just that we're going to take a losing year probably this year. This is just how it looks. Last night was a way that it could have gone either way. Now it could be crazy, and we show up tomorrow here at Scotiabank Arena against the Milwaukee Bucks, and we absolutely kill them, and then everybody's going to be like, "Woo, we're back on it." But it could really be fool's gold, back and forth, back and forth. A really shitty loss, an amazing overachieving win. Because we're so far in the hole with our record already, it may never get like to a point where we get back over 500 by the end of the season, because the schedule is really hard. And we're just not showing the ability to have the inertia to string together a bunch of good games to get like a really good win streak. And it sucks. I hate this so much. Our Raptors are not looking normal. There's a lot of problems with them right now. But in some ways, is this on purpose? Are these guys having these issues on purpose because Nick Nurse is doing what he's doing? Is this like a very overt way to stealth tank? To just overburn your starters, Nick? Is that what you're doing? Seriously? Because you know that this is a losing formula when you do this, right? You know this, right? This is a losing formula when you just play the starters like 40 minutes, all of them. I don't think it's a winning formula at this point. And you know it. And that's part of what's going on here. All right, let's see. Nameless is saying these refs and league would love to have you believe it's your poor roster construction rather than the truth that the refs are manipulating the game. Well, there's a lot to what you're saying there. The refs were definitely manipulating the game last night. Kugat is not our friend. He really does have something against the Raptors for some reason. And then, just the challenge calls. There's a lot of weird, shady shit. That technical on OG when they got a little grabby with each other. That probably should have been a double tech, but they just gave us the tech, and that didn't totally seem fair. Even the Indiana announcer said that maybe should have been a double tech, and that's crazy to me. That the opposing announcer is like, "Oh, that should have been a double tech," but no, it became just a tech on OG, and that kind of signifies like the refs and how they looked at us in the game. OG was really pissed after that. In fact, Nick had to take him out of the game because he continued to jaw with the refs after that call that he didn't think it was right. And he had to save him from getting thrown out of the game by subbing him out. Crazy. I've never seen OG like that before. And also, it was kind of weird. It was just very weird. I'm glad he cares. And maybe this is something that signifies something new about him, that he maybe has a little bit more gumption and get up to try and do different things because he's motivated, because he's pissed. So I don't know. It's so crazy. Monique saying refs over Raptors, which isn't funny anymore at all. One bit. All of them. Go to the G League, please. And thank you. Sending a message by now. These refs were tough. Man, what a bad ref crew. And anyway, I don't even keep going on with them. Mike's here, Logical Raptors fanatic. Salute Real Ones, Project Truth. Always just watch the playback. We were locked in before the pushing thing, and it gave the Pacers juice to go. Fred VanVleet looks like he did coming back last time. Achua Rusty. Yeah, I didn't think that Precious looked as bad as Fred. It's crazy. Precious has been out way longer, and he got out there, and he got enough trust to have a couple of stints out there from Nick Nurse, running around and getting up and down the court, playing pretty good defense. There were a couple of things he didn't do exactly right. Maybe he was a little rusty. I mean, there was one point where Scotty was really aggressive with passing and trying to move the ball quickly, and Precious just wasn't up to speed yet. You could tell because he wasn't ready for the ball. But yeah, it was, I thought Precious looked okay, and I was just so happy to see him out there. And like I said, seeing him get an alley-oop right away, that was pretty good. But, it is what it is. He 12 minutes for Precious, 1 of 3 from the field. He missed 1 of 2 free throws, 2 assists, 1 steals, 3 blocks for Precious. There were a lot of blocks by the Raptors last night, which was nice to see. But yeah, I can't get mad at Precious. First game back, getting his legs under him, and he didn't look too bad. He didn't look too bad, but he got to play. Nick, you let him play. He just came back, and you played him 12 minutes. I was exactly right, Monique. He played 12 minutes, which is what I guessed in the chat on Facebook yesterday. And but yeah, Fred came back and he looked just as rusty and bad as before. I was really hoping he'd come back with hitting his shot now at this point, but no, it didn't happen. It's too bad. Evelyn's here. Good morning, Raptor Free Crew. I think the game last night was Raptors versus the Refs, manipulators. Yeah, they were just, but honestly, I can't totally blame them. We just didn't, I blame Coach, I blame Fred, and I just blame poor execution late. But I think the poor execution really is directly correlated with overplaying our players. They look so tired. That really was a difference in the last 2 minutes of the game. You could tell Indiana had juice. They had burst. They had energy. And we didn't have any. There were guys that were just like not trying to get after it. You can tell that on offense, they're really struggling to make shots because they're so fucking tired, Nick. If you can't see this and you're just like, oh, well, I do this. This is what I do. Well, I hate it. I hate it. Just stop, please. Please stop being such a miser and overplaying your starters. You need to give minutes to your bench, and you need to find some productive bench guys and really start building them up consistently. Because that's part of the problem, is that you rely so much on the starting five. You haven't built any good faith out of any single one of the bench players, where we can say at least we have this one really good bench player that will come out and absolutely do everything. I think Chris has been playing great, and I don't understand why he's not getting a huge chunk of minutes. I'm very well on the record for how I feel about Kem Birch and now Jeff Doughton Jr., and I don't understand this. I really do not understand why you're doing this, other than maybe this is the way you guys are trying to tank, because it doesn't make any fucking sense to me. It's like, this is coaching. And this is like, you should know reserves are used to spell your starters, but you don't do that. What do you think? These guys are androids. They're like Terminators. They're like not actual people. They're robots, and they can just do whatever the fuck you tell them. And even if it doesn't seem like it's totally humanly possible, what Siakam's doing, you want to just play them 40 to 44 minutes a game every night? Yeah, we're going to continue to lose if you keep doing this until you figure this out, Nick, and you use your bench. We're going to lose because we cannot keep up with the other team over the long haul, the whole game, and score the same amount of points. Our point production just from our starters will not be enough to add up to the starters and the bench from the other team, because that's like you're using one team against two teams, and you're trying to make one teams outscore two teams playing against the bench and the starters of the Pacers. It's, oh my gosh, I know. All right, Fun Guy's here. Let's see what Fun Guy is saying. He's saying, all right, there's a lot here. I'll make sure I get every comment. This team and franchise is absolutely pissing me off. That's 2 seasons now under Nick Nurse that have been lottery seasons. When will fan base wake up? Well, I don't think in some ways, Tampa, we can't really blame him in a lot of ways. I feel like he did a good job considering everything. This year's a little weird though. And I don't know who to blame completely. I'll blame him for last night's loss, but I won't blame him overall for how the season has gone. And I won't blame him for like the whole kit and caboodle of everything with what's happening with the Raptors right this second. I will blame him for one loss last night, in which I feel like he had a strategic mistake. And I've spelled it out. I'll just sound like a broken record the more I go over it. I don't think we need to wake up to anything. I think we can see what's happening. And, the people that don't care will go away and they won't watch for the rest of the season because we're losers. And the people like us that do care, we'll stick with it and we'll nitpick and we'll try and figure it out as we go. But once again, I don't think Nick Nurse is ultimately the problem. I think that he just needs to wise up and do something different. And maybe you're right. Maybe he is the problem because he won't wise up on this specific issue. And that could be what the sword he falls on by the end of this all. That, Nick, if you can't figure this out and start getting better results from your bench or just using them, this may be the sword that you fall on. That this may be what is your demise as a coach for us. And I hate it because I can see it coming, and I don't want this for you because I feel like you are a really good coach. But man, it's so hard to defend you today after the decisions you made last night. That you single-handedly, in some ways, you lost the game for us. I can say Fred, sure. Fred didn't step up. Fred didn't hit these clutch shots he had that were open. If he made them, that would have swung the game in a lot of different ways at the end. No, it shouldn't even got to that. We should have kept a good lead with maple syrup, 100% Canadian, and like not even had it close where the referees could be a factor or any fatigue could have been a factor. So yeah, it's really bad. Nameless is saying, Mo, I've never seen such manipulation in any of the 5 major sports. Indiana, you think Indiana can actually outscore us 50-7? Not possible. Well, they did. And they have a good bench in Indiana. That's part of the reason why Rick Carlisle has developed his bench. Off the bench, he got 20. Well, big part of it is Mathurin. He's an incredible rookie. And what he did last night was he took over the game and was the man and took them home to the victory. He was the one hitting clutch shots. He was the one finishing through contact in the lane in the last couple minutes of the game. They talked about the clutch factor of Halliburton recently and how he scores so much in clutch situations to help them win. But it really was Benedict that did all the really tough, heavy lifting at the end of the game. He was 6 for 9 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3, 7 of 10 at the free throw line, 3 rebounds, 1 steal, 21 points, and the highest plus minus on their team, a plus 21 himself. So yeah, Benedict Mathurin was the star of the game, the one who won that game for Indiana when things were getting bad, and he came off their bench. He was their bench player. The bench player was the best player. And you add in T.J. McConnell, who came out there and did a couple things. He got to the basket as easily as he wanted to because we had no low post defender. Once again, nobody guarding the rim. So little TJ can go around and run around everybody and just lay it in. And he was 4 for 6, 7 of 7 at the free throw line, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 15 points. And the thing was, TJ absolutely burned Malachi, made him look so bad, and made Nick Nurse bench Malachi for the rest of the game. But really, it was like there was this open path for him to just go to the basket over and over again. Oshea Brissette even killed us a bit at the end of the game. Former Raptor Brissette having some big plays late in the game. And then, like I said earlier, Jalen Smith with a 11 point, 11 rebound, double-double performance off the bench, signifying nobody guarding down low, just like Miles Turner with the 18 point, 10 rebound for him. So it's like, what the fuck? All right, let's keep going. Naco the Nacho saying, I thought the starters, save for Fred, played pretty well. I thought Precious' physicality was pretty great. Save for that, this was brutal. Yeah, well, that's everything that we got, Naco, is basically what you just said. Yeah, those starters were fantastic, but they were having to carry everything. 4 players on our team were trying to carry the whole entire team. And meanwhile, the Pacers had 7 guys in double digits on the other side. And that's a lot more balanced and spread out across the whole roster to carry the scoring load. Meanwhile, we're trying to do it with just 4 guys. They would have said Fred too, but 5 guys, I don't like that. This isn't a burger joint. We need to make this more than 5 guys. This needs to be like a 7 or 8 guys. So Raptors, get the 7 or 8 guys out there. Nick Nurse, geez. Yeah, I mean, there was some impressive performances by Scotty, Gary, and Pascal. Super good performances by those guys. But that's not enough. Those were the only 3 guys that actually played very well. OG, I didn't even think he played that well. So it was brutal. Nameless saying, fun guy. Nick Nurse doesn't construct the roster, pal. It's very poorly unbalanced. We saw what happens when he gets one he likes. Now, I think it's 50-50 on this. I think that you're both right to a degree. I think that, in some ways, yeah, I've said recently, if we're going to fire anybody, let's fire Bobby Webster, because Bobby Webster has not put a roster together that actually works. But also, I don't think that Nick's actually utilizing the roster in the right way and that it is his fault. That some of these guys are great for the team. Wancho, Cam, these guys are great, but he's not even using them. And then I really don't get why he overplays our team so much. I did like seeing that starting lineup from last year together again last night. They did fantastic. But you're not integrating bench players into those guys and really making it more cohesive, like with balance of all the minutes and not overworking any individual guy way too much. You're not doing that, Nick. You're failing left and right. Scotty's too tired. Pascal burned out. Freddie's way too tired with his legs. He can't shoot. These are problems of exhaustion, and you really, really overplaying them. I mean, there's certain people in the Raptors community that have been really critical of you for a couple years, and it's just showing its face over and over again. And I don't know what it is about your philosophy that needs to change slightly, but you need to give more opportunity to your bench so that they can shine and do the things. If they fail a little bit, you might need to give them a little bit of a chance. But if you put somebody out there and they don't do well, then get the next guy out there. It's like you go and you look at, all right, Boucher and Malachi and see how they're doing. Okay, they're not doing that great. All right, well, why don't you try Kemp and Jeff Doughton next? Keep trying different looks. You didn't even dig that deep to do that. And I know that you said you only like to play like 10 guys. You said that recently in a interview that you'd rather just like play 10-minute rotation at the most. If you get to 10, you don't like to play more than that. Well, maybe you need to pick which 10 a little bit better, because maybe you're picking the guys that shouldn't be playing as much in those games. Or maybe you should just break that rule and start using more than 10 guys. But the thing is, you're not fleshing out any minutes for those guys. The minutes are just not getting to the bench at all. Indiana gave their bench guys minutes. They played very well at different times. Oh my gosh. Fun guy saying our young players aren't even getting proper development because our coach is so bad and even worse at utilizing players. I think that Scotty and Koloko are getting good development. They're fast tracking them. That is also a theory I've had as to why Nick is doing this, is that he just wants to fast track the hell out of Scotty Barnes and a little bit of Christian Koloko also. I hate that. The other theory I have is that part of it is that he's trying to get these guys that he really likes on the team better contracts by inflating their production and having them play so much. Their numbers will look better, so they get better bags. Like I've heard that like he has guys on the team that he really looks out for, like Fred, and he's trying to help them get more money. Is part of the reason why he overplays them. I think that's kind of a fucked up thing if he is actually doing that on the download. That does not make any sense. And it's like coaches should not do this kind of shit. Seriously, just let the players naturally have what they're going to get. And it's just, oh man, oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about today that sucks. All right, let's see. Monique is saying, on another note, sending help for Reggie Perry. He is becoming more and more frustrated. Welcome back, precious dear. Stay in the gym over and out like Kyle did in the playoffs. Yeah, Reggie is getting really upset on the 905 level. It's crazy how angry he gets in games these days. He hasn't had a whole lot of big help. Kenny Wooten Jr. is about the only other big guy on that team that does a whole lot for them. This Morsel guy's come down, and he's done a couple of things for them too, size-wise, but they don't play them. Now, there's a couple of questions I have today about people, where they are. Where the hell is Eric Curry? I hope I wasn't right and that he just didn't cut it as a coach and they sacked him already, because he's gone. He has not coached the last 2 905 games. They're using one of the assistant coaches to run things, and Eric Curry has just disappeared. I don't know where he is. Like, they have not even given an explanation, or anybody has talked about this on Twitter. Usually somebody like Blake Murphy, who's really up on 905, would give us the deets on why Eric Curry has been missing the last 2 games for the Raptors 905. He has not been on the bench, nowhere to be found since the Showcase Cup ended. And I'm wondering if something happened internally where, this isn't working, Eric. The team does not respect you and you're not getting the best results. And that's why he's not there anymore. Another person that was interesting that was absent last night at the Pacers game was Earl Watson. I did not see Earl Watson at the game last night. Rico was sitting on the front bench in his spot instead of Earl. I hope everything's okay for Earl Watson and the Watson family, and that there isn't anything crazy going on. I'm sure that he is still with the team, and there's no problems with that. It's just I don't like seeing these absences, and I'm wondering what's going on because nobody's talking about him. None of the media guys are bringing up Eric Curry at all. And nobody mentioned why Earl Watson wasn't there last night, unless they did on the broadcast with Alvin and Matt, which I didn't watch. I watched the Indiana stream last night. So I have no idea where Earl Watson is. If y'all could tell me, if you know, tell me, and if you know anything about why Eric Curry is not coaching the 905 anymore, let me know on that too, because I'm having some blind spots as to the reasons for these absences and why they're not there all of a sudden. Very weird. All right, let's see. Tom Duke is saying, salute the real ones. Didn't know it until last night that I have a white flag for the season, but I am not quite using it yet. Just showing it does exist. White flag. I'm intrigued by this, Tom. What is this white flag all about? And I'm going to have to find out more as time goes on. Tom Duke is saying, go Raptors, screw you refs. Now, Tom, are you getting the white flag out just like you two did during the war tour because of surrender? Is this a surrender move that you're getting the white flag out, that you're saying, we got to wave the white flag for this season, much like in Tampa, and just go ahead and just take it and get in that Wemby sweepstakes? Like, it'd be really crazy if we ended up with Victor Wembanyama next season. I mean, that would be really, really crazy. Like, seriously, is Masai that much of a gangster that he's crazy? He's like, Nick, overplay the starters and we'll lose and we'll get Victor. Is that what's going on, Tom? That we need to get these white flags out and just wave them because we're like surrendering. We surrender. We're not going to even try anymore for the rest of the season. Just beat the fuck out of us, every NBA team that we play for the rest of the season. Go ahead. This is what we want. This is like Giovanni said, we're on a tank mode already, is what Giovanni's been saying for a month now. And I just want to believe it. Well, Tom's waving a white flag now. And that's making me wonder what's going on. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, and screw the refs. You're right, Tom, dude. Mike's saying, relax. Fred's back where he was like a week ago. When his back is messed up, his three-point shot isn't on point. But assuming anything is the issue other than Lopez landing on him when his back was like 85%. Yeah, I know, but Mike, I don't care. Listen, he's going to get hurt during the season. He has to be able to perform and help us in those crucial moments. Even if he doesn't do jack shit for the whole game, if he makes those threes in the last 5 minutes, everything's fine. And that was last year, a lot of cases. He wouldn't have a very good game, but he would at least show up in the clutch time and carry some water and make some huge baskets to help us get W's. He's not doing that this year. And we do as well as he does. And I don't care if he's hurt. I don't care if it's any of that. If he's out there and he's taking minutes on the court, he needs to be ready and able to do this stuff. I can't make excuses for people anymore. And two of them are Fred VanVleet and Nick Nurse this morning. I can't make excuses for them in certain ways. Fred will say it himself. You come up to him and say, I have to play better. I'm not playing enough or well enough. I'm playing enough, but I'm not playing well enough with all the time that I'm playing. I mean, look, the man, he played 36 minutes last night and he scored 9 points. That is not enough production from him. He needs to get more points if he's going to take that much time on the court in minutes. And I can't defend him today, Mike. I want him to get out of this. If he comes out against the Bucks tomorrow night and absolutely kills it and has a monster game, everything will be fine. But this is the thing. We are losing close games because partly Fred disappears. Fred is not filling the role that he filled last year, that we can't count on him for what he did last year. And that sucks. And it does really kind of make me wonder. It's like, all right, last year was just a really, really good year for him. Where is the real Fred VanVleet when it comes to clutch and comes to big three-point shots and making them at important times? Sure, okay, he's been hurt more this year maybe, but he was hurt at the end of the year last year too. And what does this say once again about anything? These guys can't be hurt. They have to be available and playing at a high level for us to win. It is so much we have to do exactly right to win games right now. Other teams can fuck around and have this deficiency in this, or they still overcome it because there's strengths in other areas. We don't have enough strengths in areas to not be good at everything and play perfect and win. We will not win. We have too many glaring weaknesses right now, and they're just not getting covered up like they did last year, and it sucks. I hate it. Nameless is saying maybe Lex. Maybe Nick Nurse secret tank agent. You never thought of that, but maybe you're right, you know? I know, it's a weird thing. I'm like, Nick, you're smart. You coached all around the world. You coached in England. You coached in the D League. You coached everywhere, bro, and you went everywhere. You should know basketball 101 with coaching and substitutions, but you are ignoring it for some reason, and I really don't get this. This can't be that much of a drop off. In fact, I think that you ruined our bench last year, and in some ways, you're ruining our bench again this year. That you don't give them confidence because of the way that you play them, the way that you really, really dote on the 5 starters and just playing the hell out of them. In some ways, you don't build up those guys to have the confidence to come in the game. I had seen Chris Boucher play at a very high level this year, and now he's in the doghouse, and now he's not even getting play at all, hardly. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why aren't you using Chris? You need some guys off the bench that regularly play so that you can count on them. You're only counting on like 4 or 5 guys right now, whereas you need to count on night in, night out, at least 8 or 9 guys. And you're not doing that. You're not doing that, Nick. Tom Duke is saying, still tanked by Nurse. I think it is. I'm going to say he's guilty of it. You can tank Commander Aaron Baines in Tampa. Well, tank Commander maybe Nick Nurse this year. And that may be very, very much on purpose at this point. He's just like, fuck this. We're going to lose weird games. Things are going to be weird. Well, let's be really creative with how we lose. Yeah, let's do things that look like we're really, really trying. But we're not really realistically able to win games because we're fucked up. Oh my gosh. I'm a fun guy saying nameless. Buddy teams would run through the city naked to get their hands on some of our bench players. Boucher, Precious, Thad, Malachi, Koloko, even Birch. These are quality guys. I agree with this. There's not like this much of a huge talent drop off between our starters and Chris Boucher. There's not, and then even further than that, these guys are good and you just don't use them. Maybe this is where you're a shitty coach, is that you don't know how to creatively use players that are not as good as your starters and integrate them with the starters so that you can flesh it out and have a good quality of play all throughout the game with your starters integrated with your bench, that they play together and they cover up the holes, and the bench guys can actually cover up some of the deficiencies where the starters are getting tired, but you're not doing it all. Not at all. You're not doing any of it. And these guys, I agree. I think our bench is actually good. They just get sullied and looks bad because of the way Nick doesn't utilize it. That there's nothing wrong with our bench. Our bench is probably just as good as many NBA benches. And people that think, oh, it's just because our bench is so bad, I think that's folly and that's wrong. I think that we do have actually a good bench. We're just not fucking using it. Oh my gosh. I think this is right. Fun Guy's right. There's a lot of guys on our bench other teams would love to have. And this is the whole effect of like Oshea, Brissette, Yuta, Watanabe right now, is that Yuta did not get used correctly last year. And in some ways, Yuta is the key to why the Brooklyn Nets are on a 12-game winning streak right now. That he taught them how to win again. Maybe that he took the good feelings and the ideas here from Toronto and brought to the Nets, and he's been a huge success. In fact, there's an underlying story of Yuta being a huge part of why the Brooklyn Nets have turned it around this year. It sucks. And it's like we could have enjoyed this on our team this year if we'd still had Yuta this year, maybe, but maybe not, because Nick wouldn't have let him have it or played him enough to get this. Or maybe we could have had this last year if Nick had used him better last year when he was on our team. The answers aren't clear, and it's all woulda, coulda, shoulda. But I wonder about this with people like Yuta and Oshea, Brissette, who was on our team from before. I mean, I don't like doing woulda, coulda, shoulda, but I'm also wondering, all right, these guys go other places, and they seem, our development is great here in certain ways, but maybe it isn't, because there's certain guys that are getting other opportunities in other places, and they're flourishing. And why didn't they do that with Nick Nurse when they were here? Why couldn't you do that out of them? It's showing that you don't have a genius for that, Nick, as far as getting the absolute best out of Yuta and Svi last year. It didn't seem like you did that. And I can't just say, oh, they didn't have confidence or I couldn't rely on them. Fuck that shit. You should have put them in situations where they could have succeeded and they could have been better, and they would have had confidence, and you would have had confidence in them. Because they have confidence in Yuta this year and the Nets, and look at what he's doing. They have utmost confidence for him. He's integral to their winning and what they're doing. He plays every game, and he gets a substantial time of playing. We don't see. Anyway, I can go on about this for hours, honestly, at this point. Kenrick's here. Good morning, Kenrick James. check out Kenrick Chronic Art James on Facebook. He does commissioned art. And if you need a piece of something creative done, he can help create it for you. So look up Kenrick Chronic Art James on Facebook. Kenrick saying management is low key tanking. Up late second quarter, need defense to close out the half. Nurse cuts outs and puts in Flynn instead of Kem. Delano, Bo, and Jeff were available. Delano was not available, but the other guys were. Yeah, Delano was in Long Island with the 905, not getting to play there either, which was really weird and crazy. But yeah, I agree with this. Like, there was a point where we were playing really well, and the bench did kind of screw up this game. But it was partly because the refs were really fucked up in that moment, and also the Pacers were jumped on all over us. But I hate that. That may be the point where, all right, Nick said, I can't play the bench for the rest of the game. And that's part of the reason why I'm complaining about what I'm complaining today. I don't know. It's so stupid. So you know what? Listen, maybe you're just not subbing them right or with the right people in and out. I really don't like the way you ran the team last night. And the way you were subbing, the rotations were very bad last night. Nick Nurse, very, very bad. In fact, the rotations didn't exist. It was basically just play these 5 guys a whole quarter. I think they played almost the whole entire third. I mean, a whole entire fourth. And they played almost the whole entire second. Like the starters. It's so crazy. Or the first. They played most of the first, too. Isaac Campbell saying Wancho, too, starting to DMP. I know, Wancho. What the fuck? You can't use Wancho? You haven't used Wancho in a couple games. You know, I just don't get it. I just don't get it. And it's driving me crazy. Monique saying, doesn't get any easier, guys. Bucks next. Well, maybe it does. Maybe the Bucks are just this team that, much like the Pistons with us, we match up really well and we're going to kick their ass. And it will feel real good if we beat Milwaukee on Wednesday. So I'm taking it game by game and taking each opportunity to play as a possibility to get a W, because that's all we still really want, even if some people on our team and our franchise are actually not wanting to win at this point on the down low. I'm all about still trying to get W's and beating teams still, because it'll feel good, especially if we beat Milwaukee tomorrow. Callie's saying, so pissed at Fred. He shot us out of the game. I know those 2 threes that he had late that were wide open. If they one of them just gone in, it could have really had a momentum change. And yeah, he's just failing. And these shots don't look good. Like, he should be shooting way better. I don't get this, man. I don't get this. If it's like this, and this is something they talked about recently, like Fred's supposed to be telling Nick when he's not feeling exactly right, and Nick will take him out. That last year there was a lot of overplaying him when he shouldn't have probably been playing and doing damage to his body. Well, this year they have an agreement that Fred is supposed to tell Nick that when he's a little bit too and then he won't play him for the rest of the game. That's part of the reason why he sat that one game where he said, okay, I'm not going to play for the rest of the game, because his back started fucking up. Well, Fred may have pride, and he may be like lying about how hurt he is. And it's like he's going out there and trying, he's failing, but he still won't tell Nick, all right, take me out. I'm not good. I'm no good for the night. He still stays out there for the whole entire game. Fred, you need to be honest with yourself. And if you're not 100%, you need to tell Nick, and he needs to get you out and put somebody else in there. Because I don't want you taking these late game clutch shots if you're not 100%. This is something that you guys have talked about in interviews recently that you're trying to change for this year. That you're trying to save your body. Well, you're failing. This is a fail. What happened last night? They did not save your body, and you did not have good production for your minutes. You played way too much last night for your first game back in a little while. Mike saying, blame Nick for this is nuts. He's not tanking. We had the game till the push. The bench gave our first quarter lead to the Pacers, and they got a lead. So Nick went starters, and they got the lead, then the push. Yeah, I don't know, Mike. I might have to diverge in opinion on some of this stuff. I have to blame Nick for last night. Last night's game is solely, in a lot of ways, on his shoulders. And if I have to blame a player, it's Fred. But it's just inexplicable. You see the bench production between their team and ours, and you see that they have 2 teams of 5. They're actually getting pretty equal scoring between the 2 of them. Meanwhile, we have one really overused starting team that has so many minutes and is doing all our production, and the bench is just starving and drowning, or not drowning, or just thirsty for any kind of morsel of anything, because they're just not getting it. And I think that that's why he needs to build up good faith over many games so that he can have this baseline and feel like he can, trust them. He has not built any trust with them because he just doesn't use them or build the trust over games in the season. And that's a fail to me. That's a fail. He should be building trust with his bench. If there's anything we learned last year, and that one of our weaknesses of a great season is that he needed to build some trust in the bench more during the season, and that this does not help us. I can't. In some ways, this is the worst team I've ever watched in the entire NBA as far as how they utilize their bench. I've never seen a team utilize their bench worse than the Raptors. I'm talking about every single team I've ever watched the NBA, every single era of basketball. I've never seen a team utilize their bench worse than what the Raptors have done in recent years with Nick Nurse and how he manages his bench and how he integrates them with the starters. I've never, ever seen it. And that may be his biggest Achilles heel. And we're just getting it worse and worse right now. I can't believe it. Tom's saying, seriously, though, Logical Raptors Freak, what the freaking heck is with those DNPs? I don't know. You can legally play all of your players, Nick. You know that. You're not like required to play a 8 or 9 or 10-man roster, like rotation. You can play as many of those guys. They're suited up. They're sitting there. They can play. You got guys holding their knees and huffing and puffing and just like looking like they're about to fall over in the fourth quarter with 5 minutes to go. You fucking played Kem Birch. You play Kem Birch for a little bit in the first quarter, and you will stop Miles Turner from just getting whatever, and TJ McConnell from coming down the lane and just getting easy layups. You'll stop all that bullshit. How much they scored in the points to paint, you did not put any resistance out there against it. Nobody was doing anything to stop any of them or keeping track of them. And I'm not blaming the defense for that because they were rotating and they were working hard. It's just that you didn't have the right personnel out there for this kind of stuff. You really don't. Scotty can't do this exactly right because he's such a rotating defensive player. He really gets too far away from the paint when he's rotating out, and none of the other guys have the instincts to try and body up and play that low post defense otherwise. Siakam and OG have done it in the past, but they're still not, it's not their instinct to just really get in and body up with these guys like Kem would. Or Thaddeus even. Thaddeus would do this to a degree also. But Coloco's too inexperienced. He doesn't do it well enough. And Scotty's leaving the paint too much and going off in other places. And then the back door is just wide open. And guys are just coming in behind him and just dunking it or laying it in. It's pathetic. It's really easy baskets. It's stuff that we wish we could get. But we're leaving the back door wide open for anybody else to come get on us. It's crazy. Nameless is saying Nurse is the submarine driver. Has anybody ever thought that maybe Nick Nurse has received directive from management to play and not play a certain way? Maybe Nick Nurse hates it too. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to think. I just wish they'd be on the up and up. They're always saying that it's best to be real. And being real is what they're all about, whether it's talking about how they're playing or what's going on, being honest and truthful with each other. This seems like this would be a very deep conspiracy and very I don't think he would do it if he didn't like it. I don't think Nick Nurse is doing anything that he hates because somebody else is telling him to do that. I think he's doing exactly what he thinks he should be doing as a coach, and he's just failing. And he's just not. I don't know. I don't know at this point. It's just crazy. Kareem Thomas is here. Good morning, Kareem. It's good to see you. The past 2 seasons, we haven't had a legitimate center. We addressed it in the draft, but Coloco isn't ready, which means we still have no fucking center. I'm not even going to get started on guard play. Okay, Kareem, thank you. And yeah, this is an important thing to talk about. We have not had a real center since Serge and Mark left, and it's tough. I'd like to think that Kem is this real center, but he should be playing more and establishing that, and we're not getting that. So I don't know what I don't know what to do. I mean, honestly, they're going to do whatever they're going to do. I'm just going to have to trust this team in the long run. Everything's going to be all right. It's just right now, I don't understand what the Raptors are all about and what we're trying to do with this season at this point. I really don't think we'd be stupid to try to be a buyer and go forward and try and win at this point. They're so stupid. We don't have it. So in some ways, I'm like wondering what is the best strategy going forward for the rest of the season. I think it's still to try and win games and develop a winning culture as much as possible, even if we don't win games. But also it's like, yeah, the draft pick could be really good this year. And it could be adding another really talented person to our team this summer. And that may be part of what happens with our goals for the rest of the year in some ways, to get a good draft pick, get a good lottery pick, and get in the top 5 of the draft again, like with Scotty's year. And who knows? Things could happen really nicely because of that for next year and years to come. Fiercey's saying, good morning, Fiercey. Good to see you. Good morning, fam. Agreed. The 3 points killed us. It's really what differentiates us, and he has cost us many games that were pretty tight. Refs didn't help either. More Doughton, please. Yeah. We beat them in threes, though. We outshot them in threes and made more than them. They were beating us right next to the basket. It's really crazy. Like Buddy Hield woke up and hit a crucial three late. And that's what they do. They may play possum and not even try and hit a lot of threes for most of the game. But at the end of the game, they are shooting and they're trying to make those threes. And that's where we saw Buddy Hield kind of step up near the end of the game and started hitting shots. Halliburton really was more throughout the game and not as much carrying things at the end. And once again, Benedict Mathurin really, really carrying them home. He was, like I said, he's the guy who stepped up on the court and said, I'm going to win this game and I'm going to be the best player right now. It wasn't Siakam. It wasn't Scotty. It wasn't OG. It wasn't Fred. It was Mathurin, a rookie who's coming off the bench. And he's the one who's going in the lane, ready to finish on our guys. And like, no matter what, through contact. And then also taking crazy ass shots with our defense right on him, right in his face. And inexplicably, it goes through the net. He's like, he had a couple of shots near the end of the game where we covered him up real close. And he still made the shot with the guy in his face. So that is a big ups to him. He's on my fantasy team. I enjoyed what he did on my fantasy for last night. But yeah, I didn't enjoy it in real life because of what he did to the Raptors. And yeah, Benedict Mathurin, you're a great young Canadian player. And I look forward to you representing Team Canada in the future. Hopefully. And the other thing that's sad about Chris not playing is Chris is good friends with Benedict because they're both from Montreal. And in some ways, I don't like seeing a rookie who just came in, who gets everything handed to him. He's already showing such a high level of taking over and winning the game. And meanwhile, the guy who's older than him and kind of a mentor to him in some ways is sitting on the bench. And he's not even getting a chance to be out there and compete with this kid. And that's fucked up, Nick. You don't understand. The connection between Mathurin and Chris Boucher is very strong. He celebrates him on Instagram when he does really well from afar. And he's very proud of him. And I think that you missed out an opportunity to play Chris more in certain situations because he might get up to play against Benedict because of their friendship. So, yeah, man, there's a lot of things that I feel like he messed up last night, Nick Nurse. A lot of things. Mike is saying people need to relax. Birch played a lot one of the games to use that in the other game. And clearly Birch's knee swelled up again. And Doughton isn't an IQ perimeter defender. Can get IQ'd, he hustles the guys. I don't know if I agree with either one of those things. I have no idea what's going on with Nick Nurse's knee. I mean, not Nick Nurse, Ken Birch's knee. But you may be right, but I still don't understand this. I still think that he needs to be played every single game. And if he's hurt, just put him on the injury list so we don't think, okay, he's not using him and that's why things are happening. If he's hurt, put him on the injury list and don't make him available instead of just stealthily sitting him there and making us all wonder, why the fuck aren't you playing him? It's like, it's just making me mad at this point because I can see it's kind of like when somebody has a problem and it's really obvious how they could fix it, but they are just blind to it. And they won't just say, oh, if I just did this, oh my gosh, it would be so easier. No, they won't do it, even though it's so obvious what they need to do. It's like so obvious what he needs to do. Oh my gosh. And as far as Def Doughton, I totally disagree with what you're saying. I think he has a very high IQ as a defender. And then in the last couple of games he's played, he's been a solid defender fighting around screens. In fact, one of the big fails of Malachi last night, he was not getting around the screen fast enough, and TJ was beating him to the basket. I bet you Jeff Doughton would have had more success with that, just because in some ways it's effort, but it's also he is just smarter in some ways. I think I don't agree with this. I think his defensive IQ is actually quite high, and I don't get that. Nameless is saying maybe Nick Nurse is like Vision 6'9" is stupid, and management's like too bad. This is the only thing starting to make sense. Well, that doesn't make any sense. Because first of all, he works so hand in hand with Bobby and Masai that they wouldn't get to this point where there'd be a rift between the coach's vision and the front office's vision. This is a shared vision. This has nothing to do with like a conflict as far as like them seeing what the team should be in different ways. So I can't agree with this, Nameless. I think this is crazy. That's a crazy idea. I'm a fun guy saying, I'm sorry, I can't blame the refs. Pacers were penetrating and getting fouled. We couldn't contain and no help at the basket either. Lots of fouling we did. Horrible coaching and rotations. Back to the coach. Yeah, I mean, I see where the refs weren't totally fair, but once again, this is true. The ultimate factors for why we lost, they have to do it more with ourselves than anybody else. I don't even think they have to do with the Pacers or a whole lot of things that they did. It really was coaching decisions and just certain guys not stepping up in clutch time. And those are the biggest things that hurt us. But yeah, the refs didn't help. They were annoying, and you could definitely tell they weren't fair, but they weren't the deciding factor. Marlon Toby's here. Good to see Marlon. It's been a bit. Always good to see you, Marlon. Nameless, I agree. The Raps might just be the subtle in the tank because we can't be this horrible at basketball all of a sudden. I refuse to believe that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think we're horrible at it. I think we see that we have really good, talented players that are absolutely going to be fantastic. It's just that we're not putting it together in a winning way right now. That there's certain things that we're lacking on any given night that don't help us and don't add up to us winning. And I think in some ways we may be handcuffing ourselves on purpose in secrecy. That okay, just play the hell out of the starters and don't play the bench and you expect to score 120 points with 5 players when the other team's using 10, Nick? What the hell, man? Monique saying Malachi needs to stay seated yet again. You can tell Jamaal was in the game with Benedict. Randy Urban was intense on Raptors tonight. Randy Urban got intense. I have to watch that. I'll watch that today. And I'm always surprised, like when they do that show after a game like last night, it's away and they're kind of doing it in their like the Zoom mode, like in their different rooms. And it's always like kind of depressing because they just lost a game that really kind of sucks. Those Raptors tonights can be really kind of down, really down when they're separate. They're not in the real sports together, and they're kind of like sitting in boxes. It could be really like that. You could tell Jamaal was in the game. You're talking about Jamaal Magloire. Yeah, he's always like very animated on our bench. In some ways, I don't know if he helps us or hurts us more. I think he helps us more because he's very active and vocal, but he does talk a lot of shit. And this has been an incident a couple times now. Dylan Brooks last year, Jamaal saying, "This is our house," and it made him say, "This is my house." Because I just beat y'all and kicked your ass. And then the thing with Trey Young in that overtime when he did the little meh, that was at Jamaal Magloire also because he was talking mad shit from the bench. And in some ways, I don't like that because listen, Jamaal, maybe you shouldn't talk too much shit because sometimes you get players like Kevin Durant going because they're like, "Oh yeah, you're gonna talk shit," and then like boom, they start killing us. So Magloire, I like you supporting our guys and cheering them, but don't talk shit because we really can't back it up at this point. And yeah, I being supportive and cheering the guys on, and maybe doing a couple of like big guy stuff on our bench as far as protecting the team on the road, away from the way crowd, the teams that we're playing, their crowd, or maybe just like being like a good coach and like encouraging the guys and like telling them nice like things, advice. That's good, but maybe not the shit talking towards the other team all the time because I feel like that's hurting us more and we have no position to shit talk this year. So Jamaal Magloire, put a sock in it if you're talking trash to the other team, please, because you're not helping things. Let's see. Monique is saying, oh wait, Kareem Thomas saying prayers up for Damar Hamlin. I heard about this situation in the Buffalo game last night that a player had a cardiac episode and that it is really scary and everybody's praying for him and stuff. I don't watch football and I don't have any idea about the whole situation specifically, but I did hear a lot of noise about this last night. And prayers up for him and hopefully everything is okay. Sports is crazy. You put so much stress on your body and competition. Sad things can happen, like Reggie Lewis. And people really got to be in tip-top shape to perform at a really high level. It's crazy. I hate to hear this, and I wish him the best, and I hope that he is okay. Mike is saying fire Nick Nurse is wrong, and knee jerking from a game that wasn't that bad is crazy. In my mind, I don't know how much of this emotional blame game here today. There are logical reasons we lost the game. I see the logical reasons, Mike, but I see who's holding the keys to why these reasons are happening. And that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying fire Nick Nurse. I don't want to fire Nick Nurse. Listen, I can do this all in a way that isn't like just get rid of him. I can be very critical of him and say, okay, you messed up when you didn't do this. You messed up when you didn't do this. And honestly, I don't think that, listen, first of all, that game was bad. You cannot give me that game is not that bad last night. That was a bad game because that game was very winnable. We were controlling that game for most of that game, and we lost it. And we really did lose it like at the end of the game. And that is not good enough for me anymore. I fucking hate that shit. It's like that's what I'm saying. That was a bad game. We could say, yeah, the effort was good and this was good, but it wasn't good at the end of the game. And there was defensive lapses. There were all kinds of different problems in different places during the game, whether it's the bench being ineffective in that little bit of time where they came back and took the lead, whether it's, us not being able to stop anybody in the paint. There were a lot of problems with the game last night. And to me, it's more like one of these games against Orlando, down in Orlando, where it's just pathetic. And I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with this team last night? Than like a close loss to like Philadelphia or Brooklyn recently. This is a bad loss. I don't think you're right that this game wasn't that bad. I think this was a very bad loss, especially since we just had that 20-minute meeting last Friday and we're supposed to be on a new page and a new way of doing things. Now, I don't totally blame the players. Like I said, I really do blame Nick for not rotating the guys in and out correctly. And I'm not saying fire him either. And I don't think that's knee jerk. I think this is something that a lot of Raptors fans, a certain amount of them, have seen this for a while. That this is a big Achilles heel to Nick Nurse, is that he does not use his bench correctly. And last night I think we really did lose this game majorly because of that problem with him. That it was very evident. You can look at the bench scoring for the Pacers and look at our bench, 7 points. 7 points from our bench. You can't win a game when the other team's going to get 120 points if you're only getting 7 points off the bench. It's just not mathematically right. It's what Charles Barkley says all the time is like, you don't have enough scoring on your team. We just don't have enough scoring because we haven't developed enough bench scoring over the year. And that's messed up. He should have started building it last year, and he's not doing it this year either. And in some ways, that is a real detriment to our team long term. Because we're not building up young guys in the right way coming up in some ways, other than the main ones like Scotty and Koloko, like Delano, people like that. Let's see. Kenrick saying blame Masai. Yeah, we can't blame Masai. That's part of the reason why him being like a team president in a way from like in some ways the targeted like the responsibility of the GM is really Bobby Webster. So he's a fall guy for him. And honestly, I wouldn't want to get rid of Masai anyway, because he's the guy who's steering the ship and he has the vision and he is the drive towards getting more championships in a lot of ways. Callie's saying that game was so fast paced, they burned out our starters. Yeah, we didn't need that. We needed a grinded out defensive game, but the Pacers were able to get, like I said, their 30 points every quarter. That I was really keeping track of this. Oh, crap. By the end of the third quarter, they had 90 points. And I was like, yeah, they're right on track to do exactly what I wish they wouldn't do. And boom, they did it. They got another 31 in the last quarter. And bam, there's a 121-point game by the Pacers where we can't even score 115. And that is like where it does not match up. There, you can't win when the output on that team is going to be so much easier because they're using their bench. And we're just relying so much on our starters. Our starters scored 98 points actually all of them except for Fred scored 98 points. 4 players scored 98 points for the Raptors out of their 114 points last night. Look at how much of that percentage is just on the backs of 4 guys. And is that fair or right? No, it isn't. It really, really isn't. We don't have a Donovan Mitchell that's going to drop 71 in a crazy-ass game and overcome the Bulls like they did last night. The Bulls had that game in hand. They were winning that game, and then Donovan went into another level. and absolutely made the Cavs come back, which was fucked up. I hated that because I was really hoping the Bulls would win that game. Let's see. All right, Logical saying, okay, so the bench wasn't doing well. He put the bench in always anyways, and that magical makes us win. The bench rotation wasn't good enough on the defense side, and it's about stopping the other team from scoring. All right, listen, this is what I'm gonna say right now, Nick, about Nick, Mike. What he needs to do is like, I don't even care how long into the game. If he goes 4 minutes or 5 minutes or 6 minutes, he needs to sub 2 guys in immediately, like at that point in the first quarter. I don't care if the guys are playing so well at the beginning of the game, like he did last night, and he wants to try and play the starters as much of the whole first quarter. That is where he needs to start staggering rotations. So in the 5 minutes, I'd prefer he does it 4 minutes in the game. Let the starters play the first 4 minutes, and then boom, bring in Chris Boucher and Precious right away. And then you got 2 guys you sit, Scotty and Gary. You have them sit. All right, you know what? You let Precious and Chris play for a while. You see which one of them is more capable, playing with more energy, and then you make the next sub. And this sub is different. You take 2 guys out. You take either Precious or Chris out, depending on who's playing better between the 2 of them, and then you take another one of the starters out. You take OG out. You take OG out, and then you bring back Scott, but you come back with Koloko. And you integrate Koloko in as the second bench guy with 3 starters. This way, you always have 3 starters on the court with 2 bench guys. And you just have to keep switching different bench guys and different starter guys out. And this is all he needs to do. He's so stupid. He plays like 8 minutes with just the same lineup for so long, especially because often there's a dead part where he's trying, let's just let him figure it out. What the fuck? And meanwhile, the other team's subbing fresh guys in and out, and they're running circles around us. So I really want him to start it early and stagger it better so that over the end, by the end of the game, these guys have around 35 to 38 minutes and not 40 to 45 minutes. That he could really get the extra minutes for the bench snuck in with good premium starters out there still. But no, what he does is he overplays the starters, and then all of a sudden he has to put in like 5 guys from the bench just to spell them, and then they fucking suck. So it's really mixing and matching, integrating bench with the capable starters in effective ways, and maybe trying different ones and really thinking about why. Like, okay, Miles Turner's dunking it on us every other time down the court. Put Kemba in. Like, that's the thing. You have players that have roles. Well, the role is needed. You put the player that has that role in the game, and he's not lining up with that. Like, that's the thing I don't get. It's like he gives the minutes to people just because they earned them in his head, and he's not even thinking on the fly during the game. Well, this is the need I need for this situation in the game right now, and using his bench in that way. It's almost like he preordains. It's like Chris is pissing me off in practice, so he's only going to get 4 minutes tonight. Or Kem, I don't believe his knee is all right, so I'm not going to even play him tonight. It's like he already decided that before the game even started. That's how I feel about how he's doing his rotations. It's like he may have wrote him on the points, the minutes on a piece of paper before. He's like, all right, Pascal 44, OG 40, Scotty 40, Gary 40, and Fred 36. It almost feels like that to me. Because it's like he preordains what he's going to do with how many minutes and who he's going to play. And I don't like this. There's really is a way you could do this. And it would really, really fix a lot of things. And I don't understand his blind spot on this. Marlon Toby saying that player only meeting is suspect, or even weird that I think about it. It may be a front office decision to tank this season on purpose. Well, that meeting was all Nick Nurse talking to them last week. And it took to it. And it made a difference for the Phoenix game. It's just that I guess they've had New Year's, they party. I don't think they party, but they did whatever they did over the weekend, and they forgot all that dedication and that talk and the thing that happened in that film session. So now they got to come back here today, and they got to have another film session and probably some more uncomfortable talk. Maybe a couple more truth bullets fired this afternoon. Yeah. Kenrick saying, if Fred gets fined for big balls, will Indiana get fined for gun fingers? This is a really interesting subject, Kenrick, and I'm glad you brought it up. I don't like how some players are doing this, And it really is indicative of drill music and how stupid this fucking ops rap is, with like talking about gunners and coming to the neighborhood and looking for your ops and shooting people. This is a whole thing in like a certain genre of hip hop right now, where like they're getting shot for real in the streets, and they sing about it. And there's a lot of motioning with hand motioning, like guns, like shh. Well, that kind of culture and things is coming through because this is some of the music these guys listen to. And they shoot the shots, and they're like shooting guns. That's really fucked up. And in some ways, I do think the NBA should fine these guys for this, because in some ways they're promoting gun culture. And you guys may think I'm overstepping and I'm maybe being a little too but this is important, honestly, because we don't want to mainstream the idea that it's okay to just like run around and like, even if it's fake guns or just doing like this, it's still really bad message. And when Mathurin did that, like I was like cringing, because it's like, look, what is this? Seriously, our guys do it all the time. Jeff Dowden is doing it on the bench. Like, Pascal, when he runs out onto the court, he does that blam, 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 blam. I am so uncomfortable with all of it, because gun culture is really insidious and bad for our world. And that this is not the kind of messages we want. Like the big balls thing, yeah, you got fined for that. Maybe they should be fining people for doing gun motions like this, because there are serious problems in communities in the United States with gun violence and people just shooting people and stuff. And you don't want to I know maybe there is a disconnect between like the reality. It's like kids play guns and like it's not a big deal. But also this is a forefront, a big stage and a spotlight, and they get a lot of attention. And I don't like this trend of like players using this motion as a celebratory thing after making shots. That before, all right, the bow and arrow that they did at one point, that's okay, because what is it? It's a bow and arrow. It's not like anybody's going to go out and be like bow and arrow and stuff like that. But the gun issue is a real issue. These school shootings all the time in the U.S. People are getting mass shootings all the time. And, if the NBA is politically conscious and woke, they need to fucking fine guys for doing this shit. I don't like them fining people, but I think there's no place in the NBA for people motioning that they're shooting guns. And I think that this is part of like the degeneration of society, that is okay on the biggest stage where you now let NBA players just like act like they're like fake shooting everybody. Yeah, and I'm not into that. And I'm with Kenrick on this. I mean, seriously, they're going to fine Fred for walking around like he had big balls. They may need to look at this, because this is a serious problem. And there's young people getting shot and killed every day in the United States because of horrible gun laws and just irresponsible like gun culture. And that this genre of hip hop is in particular very guilty of promoting, and they have a lot of blood on their hands, trust me. I mean, the NRA, the gun manufacturers, they do a lot. They're the main culprits, but the body of like some of these rappers' work is just not. There's nothing musical good about it. There's anything redeeming about it, other than they're running around like they want to. They're gangsters and they're looking for their ops and they want to shoot people through the car, the window, or something like that. It's like half of what the songs are. I know, because I watch all the videos. That's one of the things I do every week. Every Friday, I watch all the brand new videos that just came out in the world of music. And I watch a lot of drill ops, hip hop artists. And it just disgusts me. They're all the same videos. There's nothing different or original about them. They'll start in like a shell station. They'll have a lowrider. They'll have some booty mamas. And they'll have some money. And then they'll just start doing gun like things like this. And I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Seriously. This is like fucking no redeeming qualities. There's not musically good. It's not visually interesting or creative. It's just the same stupid gun culture bullshit. And I have a big problem with this, with the NBA in some ways. And maybe call me an old fuddy-duddy, but I don't like this trend. And I think that it is indicative of problems with violence in society right now. Tom Duke is saying Mitchell scored 71 last night. 12 players had multiple games with 40-plus points. Pascal's not on that list. All-stars probably should only come from winning teams. Yeah, see, Tom agrees with this. In some ways, that's sad. That, Pascal didn't make the All-Star team last year. In some ways, he got snubbed. This year, he may very well get snubbed once again. And it's going to be the team's fault. It won't be his. G saying, morning, didn't LaMelo get on All-Star when the team was at the bottom? I may be wrong. Well, he's a golden boy, and he's somebody who's been touched by the NBA front office to be a marketing tool. He really has an appeal to young people in some ways because of how unfundamental his game is and how he does all this flashy, stupid shit. And they love it. The kids eat it up, and he's become kind of like an all-star just because of that kind of shit. Yeah, it makes me sick too. That he's not a fundamentally good player. He's on a shitty team, but he probably will be an all-star this year. I don't know what his stats look like, so maybe he shouldn't be. But yeah, I agree with this. It's messed up. Kareem's saying this 6-game home stretch will dictate our season. Yeah. Well, we've said that about the last home stretch. We said this about this road trip. We said, they're all going to dictate things, but this one may very, very, very much. Because honestly, if we don't win enough of these games or get closer to 500, we don't have a shot this year. We really don't. If we can't win these home games in this month, then we're really fucked. And it's just going to be a very much a tank season, and we're just not that good this year. Yeah, so I agree with this, Kareem. This is going to be very much dictating our season. But the ones before were already, and it's just going to dictate it even further. This one, we'll see. Fun guy saying the player only meeting is indicative of a distaste for the coach. That's usually to be honest, it all started with the useless benching of some of our starters by toxic nurse. Nope, that's not why the players only meeting happened. That's exactly wrong, fun guy. The players only meeting happened with themselves. They weren't talking about Nick Nurse. It had nothing to do with Nick Nurse. They came in to talk amongst themselves about how they've been playing. And that meeting happened before Christmas. That was the meeting way long before. The meeting on Friday last week was with the coaches. There was not players only. They were all sitting in the room with Nick Nurse, and he was reaming them out for how poor their effort has been recently. The players only meeting that happened before Christmas was really, somebody like Thad and Fred getting the guys together and saying, look, we can't have this kind of quality for our team at this point. We have to play with more excellence. We're Toronto Raptors, for God's sake. And we don't play this poorly. We have a culture here, and we want to keep it intact. That's what that players only meeting was. It wasn't about the coach and being upset with him. There's still no problems with the players and the coach. That's not the issue here. The issue is that the coach doesn't trust the bench for some reason. I don't understand that. I don't think that Nick Nurse is toxic either. Name was saying, oh my God, yes, the OG tech. I watched so many loose ball fouls uncalled. It's not funny. Did you see when Koloko got smacked in the face for a rebound and no call? Our guys are getting hit left and right. I mean, we know it. Scotty tells us every time he's getting fouled and they don't do anything. He's very much expressive. And somebody said recently that he is comparable to LeBron with his facial gestures and his gesticulating of being upset about fouls. It is true. I can see a lot of LeBron's motions and facial discontent in Scotty and the way he acts after calls not getting called either. But yeah, this once again, he's got to be more like Gary and just keep his head up and keep going, even though the refs aren't giving him his due amount of calls, because they're not going to. They did this to every single Raptor as a young player. They did this to OG. They still do it OG. They do this to Pascal less and less now, but they did this to Pascal for years. They don't give respect. You have to earn it over time, and it takes a while. Koloko's not going to get any respect as a rookie for a while. Scotty's not getting respect from the refs right now, even though he's a rookie of the year. I thought it would be easier for him, but he's still not getting all the calls he could be getting. So it's tough. It sucks. It really, really sucks because we are seeing our guys get hit, and there's a lot of calls that aren't getting called at all. But also on the other end, we're doing a lot of stuff too that doesn't get called, but we do get a lot of stuff called also that doesn't seem like it's getting called at the other end. G saying they gave continuation calls and called Raptors side out. Not all refs, but that will add to the frustration on the team. Yeah, that was egregious. So you could see it. Siakam is a great scorer in this league. Michael Jordan got a little bit of a grace period to finish the shot to get the and ones. Well, Pascal had an and one last night where he finished the shot after he got fouled, and they may have given it to the other team, but they didn't give it to us. It said side out. And then down the court, a very similar play happened just after that with Jalen Smith, and he got the respect of continuation, making the shot, and getting a free throw. And the reason why this is so bad is think about it. They got 3 points from it. What did we get from that whole situation? We didn't even get to 2 free throws. We had a side out. So it's like they cancel points that way. That is a really, really insidious ref manipulation, that they can do that. The side out versus the and one is a huge swing of things. I really agreed with when Nick did the challenge last night. He had a shot at it. They could have called it either way. They were being assholes and they didn't give it to us. But there wasn't much time on the clock, and that was a play that could have turned things around in some ways if it had gone our way. If OG had been on the free throw line instead of like getting the foul called on him. I believe that's the play. But yeah, the challenge call, I agree with when he did it, but the refs were not showing us any favor. They were like, yeah, fuck you guys. We're fucking you guys over. Lolita's saying, good morning, Raptors Freak. It's just so frustrating when the refs are also playing. 5 versus 8 is simply not fair or right. Yeah, Kukat was pissing me off. Haskell, mostly, not too bad. He's still such a green, young rookie ref. He makes mistakes. And he's I don't know. I don't think he's against the Raptors. He's reffed us a lot recently on both levels. But Kugat definitely hates the Raptors. And James Williams is just kind of an asshole. He is kind of like Courtney Kirkland as far as just like, man, he did not want to help us at all. He was very much against us. All right, let's keep going. Logical Raptors Fanatic is saying, oh, it jumped a bit. Let me make sure I get to the right spot. I don't want to miss any comments. And I see Star Screams here. So we got we got the Nets in the house. We'll have to see what he's saying. All right. Yeah, I'm going to make sure that I get every comment, guys. Don't worry. I will. Wow, there is a lot. I'm going to make sure I get there. Mike's saying, I can't listen to this much more. Not going to lie. Looking at the wrong things today. This game was one of 82 games. Doesn't say what the rest of the season has in store. Coming, Precious back. Fred will heal up. W's coming. Well, I hope you're right, Mike. I just have to react to the game the way I would react to the game. And I'm serious. Like, listen, we can disagree on things about this. I think this was a bad loss, and I'm really pissed at Nick Nurse today. That's just it. I mean, I won't go over this over and over again. G saying, I knew their game plan. Pacers saved their starters until around 6 minutes and went all out on scoring. They did this last time. Yeah. They had a plan to win the game instead of just like ride these guys and hope we win. They had an idea. They had a rotation. They had an idea of how to stagger their players to get the best effort and energy out of them. And this is the thing, like, Nick, if you're going to play this all-out energy type of defense and ask this of your players, you cannot run them to the ground and only 5 of them. You really got to sub in guys in and out quickly so that they can have the highest level of energy to really fulfill the requirements of the rotational defense that you want them to play. That you're putting them on a suicide mission in a way where you require such hard effort on both ends of the court, and you're only going to play 5 guys 40 minutes, that you're just setting them up to be absolutely gassed and exhausted by the end of the game. Meanwhile, they're saving their best players, and so they can be absolutely ready to just win the game at the end of the game. And this is why I have a big problem with what happened last night. Really, really do. Yeah. And G noticed they did it to us in the other game when we played them. We only played the Pacers one more time now up here in Toronto in March, and they've already won the series. We should not have lost the Pacers this season. Going in this season, they were not a team that I had beating us this year. I very much predicted they'd be worse than us, and that's simply not the case. They've proven that they're a better team than us right now. So, all right, let's see. Monique is saying, does Pascal go for another 52 versus the Knicks again as we play them soon again? Some positives. I mean, that would be positive if Pascal could do that again, but I'm not holding my breath on that. Aren't they coming here? I believe they're actually here in Toronto. It's bigger when it happens in Madison Square Garden for some reason, but I'd love to see that. If Pascal can get 52 again, the 25-point streak is really good, and I want that to continue for sure. Logical saying half the bench was the starters. We were injured. So, yeah, bench pieces were overspent and out of roles. So you're blaming that on Nick? Bro, we lose either way. Stars being the only real chance at the win. Well, this is fucked up because that's not true, Mike. We were not. We had one player on the injury list last night, and this is the most healthy we've been in a while. We had everybody except for Otto. So, yeah, there's a lot of folly in what you're saying here. It's like they weren't injured. And maybe they're half injured or a little bit of lingering injuries. I don't give a shit. They need to fucking figure out who can play and get them out there. So I still don't agree with this. I'm blaming Nick because he did not use Jeff Doughton. He did not use Kem Birch. He did not use Chris Boucher enough. He did not give enough rest to Pascal and Fred so that they could be the best players in the last 5 minutes and take us to the win. He overplayed them throughout the game. He played Pascal almost the whole entire first quarter. And I know that he's used to this and stuff. But what G's saying that Indiana had the whole idea of like, okay, we're going to rest guys and boom, we'll have a little more kick and energy at the end of the game is very much deliberate by Rick Carlisle. Was like, why can't Nick Nurse coach like this and have coaching smarts like this? So I can't. We're going to disagree today, Mike. It's just going to have to be that way, and it's fine. It's fine. I'm not overreacting to the point where it's like I want to fire everyone. This team sucks. I hate this team. I love this team. I still think it's a good team, but I'm pissed off about a couple things, and I do not think this was a good loss. People can say, "Oh, it was an all right loss." I'm not doing any moral victories at this point. At this point, we have one guy on the injury list, and it's Otto Porter Jr. We need to be getting W's. I don't care if it's the first game back for Precious. He played great. He contributed in some ways. I don't care if Fred hasn't played in a couple weeks. He needs to show up and play better. They're not doing it enough to get W's, and that's all that matters. And we were not that hurt last night. Otto was the only one in street clothes, so you can't use that excuse. You can't. Isaac's saying the way Malachi received his minutes this year is concerning. All IOUs are void. Reward hustle. This hasn't been next man up. Reward hustle, Nick Nurse. That's true. I think Isaac's right. Next man up mentality, you have to have the next man up earn the minutes or get the chance. I don't like how guys are just given, like, this is what you get. You get this time. It should never be like that. These guys need to be showing the effort. And that's what I've said a couple times in the last week is whoever's playing the hardest needs to be on the court. But if you notice that somebody that you like to play all the time is not playing as hard as they could, then give them a message. Sit them on the bench for a little while. But you need to expand how many guys you're playing and maybe expand the minutes for the bench overall. Nameless saying, great. Rookies are beating us now like Mathurin. Well, let's not. One thing you can do in your life is make things worse by writing the story out worse. Like this thing I'm dealing with right now with my breakup with Adriana, I could write all the saddest stories in the world about how it's happened and everything about it, but that's not going to help me. That's just going to make me depressed and sad. So, yeah, let's not write a narrative. Oh, now great. Now the rookies are beating us too. Mathurin's a very special player. And he may just have that in his card. Like, this is who he is. He's a clutch guy. He's got that it kind of attitude and stuff. And that makes him a hell of a player. Somebody I wish was on the Raptors because we could use some of the things that he does and his attitude and how he is about himself. That we need more of that in some ways on our team. So I can't hate him. Plus, he's a Canadian. And, listen, I have a lot of respect for him. And in some cases, some guys just have this right away when they come into the league. And he has it. He has this. It's very evident. This guy's already winning games for them. He's a very good rookie. G saying Raptors starters scored 106 versus 68, but that's with heavy minutes for the starters. Yeah, I don't even care about that stat. I hate that stat. Honestly, I really do. There should be way more balance. How many points were scored by the bench? Yeah, hardly any. And that's no good. I'm a fun guy saying it's not like Nameless and some guys are wrong. There is a degree of poor roster construction, primarily guards and centers. Not a good job at all by the front office. Guys like Powell and DeLon were sweet. You mean Norman Powell? In some ways I agree with this. Like, once again, if anybody's going to get fired for this season, I hate to say it, but Bobby Webster maybe. And it's partly because of what Fun Guy's saying here. No centers and no point guards, like real point guards, are not the right ones. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't want to get anybody fired. I just want them to figure it out and fix it. But there needs to be changes, and Nick's got to change how he does things. He just has to. He just has to, unless he's doing something very purposeful to lose. Josh Monroe saying the philosophy of this team is slowly getting lost. And players are afraid to make mistakes because they will be put back on the bench. Nobody's position is safe because Nurse has no patience and is chaotic. I think this is pretty on point. I think Josh has got a really good point here that, they're maybe too scared to getting like the cold shoulder and being in the doghouse all of a sudden. But meanwhile, these starter guys, they can do whatever they want. They're going to get their time no matter what. And in some ways, they have a problem with being lackadaisical and not stepping up as much as they should because it's already given that they're going to get to play a whole shit ton of. And meanwhile, the other guys are just like grasping for crumbs. And in like Malachi's confidence is probably shot already again at this point. We built it up. We did certain things, but he wasn't utilized or put in situations where he could be successful, or he just didn't play well. And boom, now it's like we can't rely on him at all. Well, go to the next person. Don't just blindly play him and put him out there. That's what I'm saying. Nick, use these other guys and give them a chance. You're not giving Cam or Jeff Doughton Jr. enough time or a chance. You literally didn't give them any chance last night. And I think it's true. It's a little chaotic. I think that there's no rhyme or reason. Like guys can kind of tell like how they can do things to get more minutes and be more in the rotation because it's laid out in front of them. Like you do these things, you can get the rewards of this. And there's like kind of a goal to go for. Well, I don't think he's even doing that because I don't think there's any kind of goal out there to say, well, you could get more minutes in this way because it's not laid out for them. And maybe that's part of the reason why they're not achieving or doing well enough is because he's not giving them a path to be successful and get more minutes and ensconce in rotation. So they don't even know how to do that because it is very chaotic and up and down how he gives the minutes and who and why. And I have no idea why Chris Boucher ain't getting to play right now. Doesn't make any fucking sense to me. What the fuck did he do to hurt you, Nick Nurse, that made you like put him on the bench and only play 4 minutes last night in a game where we got out rebounded, a game where we got killed in the paint, and like you're not playing Ken Birch? Oh my gosh, I sound like such a broken record today. G's saying if Raps keep losing, maybe they will just play the bench more and use it as a development year. No idea what direction they will take, but decisions will be made. Yeah, we got to just see how they do it. Like if they keep losing and they just continue to run these guys to the ground, I'm going to be pissed, especially if any of them get hurt. Knock on wood. Hopefully that doesn't happen. So in some ways, you may need to like change the game plan as the season goes on. And if we can see some sort of more bench development by the end of the year, at least we'll cultivate that for next season a little bit. That if you're not, we're going to lose already, Nick. Play those guys, and who cares? Like, give them some time and ability to kind of build up some good confidence and get some good faith with you somehow, some way. We're going to lose already. You're so worried about losing. That's why you have to play best qualities team all the time. Fuck that shit. You're already losing anyway. So play these other guys too. It's so crazy. Callie's saying Nurse always talks about matchups. Well, how many times did Fred get blown by, then others have to rotate and help? Yeah, I don't know what's going on with him with matchups. It seems like he does not pay attention to the low post defensive matchup specifically. And that's why I will continue to say Ken Birch. I am such a broken record today. Let's see. Mike's saying blame the bench for the starters having to play more minutes because the bench guys can't defend good enough. Blame that on them. If players aren't good enough to be on the court, don't blame Nick. That's bullshit. That is bullshit. Still, they're not getting a chance. And I don't believe that. I think that these guys do play good defense to a degree. I think Jeff Doughton's a fantastic defender. Ken Birch is a fantastic defender. There's folly in what you're saying here, Mike. That, I can't blame the bench guys because I have no research or evidence that they are actually killing us. I don't think they are. I think that Nick is playing them so little that they're just not able to get any production or have any time out there. And it's just so heavily weighed to the starters. It's just, yeah. You look at how many minutes was given to the Indiana bench last night, a time on the court, and you look at how many minutes we got. Somebody like TJ McConnell's not that good of an NBA player. He has all kinds of weaknesses that can be utilized in mismatches. We don't even go and use those. Meanwhile, it's like we're getting killed for everything with our guys. I don't know, man. It's really weird how different we feel about this today. It is what it is. I'm okay with it. Nameless saying, I agree. I think Fun Guy and I are both right to a degree. Yeah, all right. I don't remember exactly what y'all's points are. G saying there is truth to what everyone is saying. Partly roster, partly rotations, partly low bench production, partly minutes. There's not one thing that can be pinpointed. Well, to me, I feel like I can pinpoint Nick for this one last night. It may not be every game is exactly like this, but this one in particular, he majorly failed because he really does in charge of who gets in and how many minutes people play. And he failed on that last night. There's no cutting it any other way. Cool Cat's saying, I think Nick Nurse is doing what the front office wants. Contracts are coming up, and I think front office want to see this starting five to determine a path forward on who to play, trade for next chip. Draft looks good too. I hope so. I hope there's some method to this madness of what they're doing right now, because to me, it's just like I feel like Nick's stupid to a degree. Like he's just not getting it, and something's wrong with that. Mike's saying, what the fuck? Nick doesn't give a fuck about players' bags. He's trying to win and develop the guys that can be special. But Kanono is based on the thin center position from injuries. Nick only wants to win. Well, he didn't have the right game winning strategy last night over playing those guys. That's not how you win. And like I knew that shit was going to happen in the middle of the game because I saw how overplayed the starters were. Oh, fuck, he's overplaying the starters. At the end of the game, they're going to be tired and we're going to lose. And I didn't want to believe that. I was hoping it would be different and it would not happen that way, but it did. It did happen that way. Exactly. So if I can see it, I'm just spectating, watching the game. Okay, he's overplaying the starters. He's obviously overplaying the starters tonight. I hope that doesn't come back and burn us. Well, it did. And that's why I blame him. And that's why I say it's like he does give a shit about helping certain guys get bags. I know you don't think that, but they've talked about this. That in some ways he cares about Fred getting a lot of money. And it's really weird and fucked up. And that's part of the reason why he plays certain guys so much. They've talked about this in an interview that he likes helping his guys get money, the guys that really worked hard for him and did good things for him. He will inflate their playing time to help them get a bigger contract. And I think that is part of what's happening here. I know that sounds crazy, but Randolph Phillips is saying blessings to our beloved Raptors freaks. Thank you, Randolph Phillips, on a trying Tuesday morning. I appreciate you coming in with your blessings as usual. And I hope everything is great for you today, sir. Name was saying, agree, G. And that's the benefit of these think tank live streams. Tom Duke, I saw the whole white flag yesterday. It's on standby. Well, this is a good place to kind of get ourselves kind of like we get together. We kind of like get on the same page. We kind of like figure things out. Like what the fuck happened? And, you know, in some ways we can go other places where other Raptor fans are and kind of like, well, we kind of talked about this a lot on the live stream. And this is kind of where we feel like this is what's been happening and stuff. And we may not agree on, obviously, there's not a whole lot of agreement in certain ways today. But, you know, at least there's like, we're kind of thinking it out through together as a hive mind. And that kind of helps kind of like pinpoint stuff in some ways. You guys have different perception than I do. And you see different things. And we all come together and we kind of share it. And then boom, we have a more well-informed perspective on it. From multiple perspectives, sharing it all together. And I like that about this channel. Isaac saying brick for Vic is a lose-lose situation. Building a tank for a 14% chance at best. Yeah, I don't know if it's even specifically him, Isaac. This draft class is pretty good. So even if we land in like the top 10, I think we can get a very good quality player. So there's with that. I say Wemby because he's just like the forefront, the poster boy for the whole thing about the tanking this year. But it could be, a couple different players. What do we got? That Scoot kid. That Scoot kid is a point guard, right? And he can do like point guard kind of stuff. So who knows? Who knows what could happen with the lottery with the Raptors this year if we continue to just be really bad. Fun guy saying, logical, what are you talking about, bro? If bench players are constantly playing in panic mode, it overcomplicated system with fear of minutes. That's 99% coach, buddy. Yeah. Yeah, he's not setting them up to succeed. In fact, in a lot of ways, Nick Nurse is setting up the bench to fail constantly. That's part of the thing with as a coach, you want to set up your players to succeed and put them in the best situations. He is not doing that with them. In fact, he's doing the opposite. He's setting them up to fail in some ways. And I don't like that. Starscream is here. Okay, let's hear what Brooklyn Nets fans saying today. Happy New Year's, Raptor freaks. Hope 2023 is much better than last year was for you guys. Last season was fine. I enjoyed last season. We had some disappointment losing the first round to Philadelphia, but last season was way better than this season, honestly. Like this season is really kind of turning into a gross thing right now. It's maybe a little similar to how you guys felt last season, what was happening with the Nets and things with you guys. So yeah, that's where we're at. But I appreciate the well wishes and happy New Year's to you, Starscream. I appreciate it. Lolita's saying no white flag, win or lose. I'm a Raptors fan. Even if we're not in the playoffs or playing, the boys will learn. They will gel and get it right. Every single season, is a different season, and we got to just learn the narrative of that season and how we're going to do and just go through it. It's like we're the spectators, we just watch it. And I love Lolita's attitude. Win or lose, we're Raptor fans, and we're going to support and love this team no matter what. And it could be dark right now, but it could be very bright and sunny and full of good stuff down the road and not too far from now. So we'll see. Tom Duke is flying the pirate flag now, and I like that. Adapt to that, Tom Duke. I like the pirate flag. Mike's saying, fun guy. Well, I'll take. Did you miss the point where we were starting half the bench and overplaying the bench guys that aren't used to getting starter burn and worn out at the moment? Clearly, so it's on the bench to D up. Yeah, once again, I don't see this, Mike. He may be using the wrong guys at the wrong times in combinations. Like sometimes Koloko maybe not be the right time to have him out there, or Malachi in particular. But these other guys, they're more money. They've been more consistent on defense. That I don't understand why they're getting the cold shoulder. Ken Birch, Jeff Doughton, these are good defenders, and they haven't gotten burned or looked bad on the defensive end. So I just don't see the logic in what you're saying. These guys are good defenders, and they would help us. They would have helped us last night, but Nick did not use them. Fun guy saying, Logical is so pissed at Nick Nurse slander. I think you're giving the coach a lot of patience, bro. I'm going to give him patience and protect him too. But also, I have to be critical when it's egregious. It's just so apparent that Nick fucked up last night. It really is. There's 2 games this season that I feel like it's pretty much Nick's fault. And last night's one of them. There was another game earlier in the fall where I felt like it was Nick Nurse's fault why we lost. And I only blame it on Nick if it's rotational issues. If it's rotational and minute issues with who played and how much and all this stuff, then it's Nick's fault. And that's the only reason why I'm blaming him for these 2 games I'm talking about, last night and this other game earlier in this season, because it's just so evident that he's fucking up with the rotation. And listen, I don't even think this is Nick Nurse slander. This is me getting real. I love Nick Nurse. I think he's a great coach. I want him to continue to coach us. It's just that I'm crying out and saying, look, this is what's going on, Nick. Please adjust, change this, because listen, the fans are pissed. They all see how you're not using the bench, and we're all like, what the fuck is going on with you? Why are you doing this? Starscream saying, all I can say is you guys have plenty of time left to turn it around. Remember, 6 months ago, my team was dead. Kyrie and KD were traded by social media, and we were headed for the lottery. Yeah, no, it's true. It's crazy. The turnaround of the Brooklyn Nets in the last 6 months has been quite impressive. You guys put out a lot of dumpster fires in your organization. Kevin Durant causing a lot of them. Kyrie Irving causing some. Just different issues. Getting rid of Steve Nash looks like it was really, really smart in some ways, because your coach is, there's a lot of things going way better for you. And you're right. But right now, there's a lot of things that are going on with our team that just got to be figured out. And thank you for being encouraging to keep our heads up, and that things can change in time. And there is a lot of season left. There's more than half of the season still to be played. But we're just going by what we see. And like I said earlier, we had everybody except for Otto Porter now. We can't make the excuse that we're injured anymore. That is not a valid excuse for why we don't play well enough at this point. We have guys available, and they're pretty much all here. Monique saying, bad or good, we always stay cheering. Go Raptors. That's right, Monique. We are real ones. We stay and stick by the team, and that's awesome. Cool Cat saying, front office are tanking for the draft. Starters played entire third, no legs for fourth. Fred VanVleet showing he's not durable. Money less. Gary Trent Jr. consistency and complete money player. Player money. Malachi consistency. Precious. Yeah, there's a lot in Cool Cat what she's saying. I have whatever. If we're tanking for the draft on the download, whatever. And it's true. The Stars played a whole entire almost first and third quarters. That's going to tire them out for the game. Josh Monroe saying Nurse treats Chris like another random bench player from the G League instead of a seasoned player that's been in the system for some time now. I know this is true. Like, this guy should have accrued good faith with you, Nick, because you've put him in the doghouse and dealt with him in certain ways. And maybe this is just your MO for how to deal with him because you've seen how effective it is. But in some ways, you got to realize you can't keep doing this to him at each stage in his career. That this is true, what Josh is saying, that he's not like, a young player anymore. He's a seasoned vet. And in some ways, doing this to him in some ways and not showing that you trust him in some ways is kind of maybe detrimental to him more than it helps at this point. That it's like you don't want him to make him feel like I'm not getting anywhere in my career because this is the same shit that I went through when I was younger. And I thought I had established, I accepted my role. I had my epiphany on Boxing Day in Cleveland when we got beat by the Cavs so bad. And like, I'm telling you, I'm listening to you, Nick. And what, you're still doing this to me? Yeah, I agree with this with Josh Monroe. Is like, I don't think that Nick needs to be treating Chris the way he does, that he needs to treat them like a very close tier just below the starters. He's not doing that. He really does treat him exactly like he treats Cam and he treats the other bench guys. And it's not good. It's not good. Logical saying, fun guy, kind of. Yeah, not going to lie. Nick is one of the best coaches in the league, and roster decisions and Tampa depth pains aren't his fault. I love how Boston was at like 12th last year and bet they cliff jumped. All right. Yeah. I mean, I'm glad he's standing up for Nick in some ways. And we may not be seeing eye to eye right now, but Mike's intentions are in the right place. And that's all that matters in the whole scheme of things. Fun guy saying, yeah, Lex, it just sucks. We can't stop watching because of the fandom. Man, I hope they turn it around, but oh well, a lottery pick would suffice too. That's the thing. Let's just make it as fun as it can be. I'm going to watch every game still. If some of you guys don't want to watch anymore, I understand. But I get so much enjoyment and a distraction just from watching them, even when they lose. And when it's already kind of a losing season and you're not that invested in like whether it's a win every night or not, like if we were really, really good and we're trying to win as much as possible, then it's a kind of worse. And in some ways, if you're kind of like, oh, you know what, this is just that year, it takes some of the pressure off from like being really invested in winning and losing. And that may be the way we have to go. It's just like we got to watch for the positive signs and the good things within games, even if we don't win those games. And that may be how the season starts turning out. We'll have to see. There is a lot of time. We can figure it out, like Mike is saying, and that we shouldn't give up to a degree also. Let's see. G saying, nameless, I have a conspiracy theory for you. Larry is head of the board. He asked the refs to hit job and gave Nurse orders. Lottery ball may roll our way too. I'm being silly, clearly. On time. Do you think Larry Tannenbaum, head of the NBA Board of Governors, went and talked to the NBA refs and told them to fuck our team up on purpose so that we get a good draft pick? Now, that doesn't make any sense because that man wants to win because it makes him money. Yeah, I don't know about that one. That's pretty funny, G. That is very clearly very silly. Starscream saying, yes, you are spot on about Yuta. You can see that both KD and Kyrie trust him when he's out there, and he's allowed to make mistakes out there without worrying about getting no playing time after. It's a spirit. It's the things that happened to the Nets in the last year are so serious and dark and just kind of fucked up and like difficult to deal with. And he's just such a breath of fresh air. He comes in with such a passion and a love for the sport that's pure. And in some ways, I think he rekindled that in Kevin Durant. And that is part of the reason why he's playing at such a high level right now. That is, he found the love for the game again through the passion from Yuta. That Yuta has a way he carries himself. And this was true on our team too. And this is something we really missed this year. In fact, that may be part of the folly of letting him go this summer that we kind of regret, is that he really is like a guy who inspires other guys. And it sucks. And you guys are getting the good stuff from it. And it sucks in some ways because we could have retained him and we didn't. And in some ways, that may be a Bobby Webster fuck up in hindsight that we didn't realize was going to be so bad. Some people were saying, I didn't even think that Yuta might be in the league this year because in some ways he was right on the edge of not being in the league and just like, oh, hey, you're in Japan now. You're going to play in Japan league now. But no, he did make the league. And boy, did he. He's having a huge impact on one of the top teams in the Eastern Conference. And yeah, that sucks. In some ways, that may be one of the bullets that says, oh, you know what, Bobby Webster, you suck. Why did you not fucking keep Yuta Watanabe? I know hindsight's 2020, but still, if you guys are so great at predicting things and seeing things, and why couldn't you understand how important he was to winning culture and having winning idea of like passion and effort? Yeah. There's some problems there. All right, fun guy. I'm with you. Always look on the bright side of life. Always look on the bright side of life. I shouldn't whistle in the house. And changes. Cool Cat saying we're fast tracking Scotty and Coloco development. They are clearly needed for the team's success. Okay, so we're paying it forward, losing now, so we win more later. All right, I can get behind that. Mike's saying we haven't had half the starters for most of the games. Gary Trent Jr. had to go to bench. So what are you talking about? 2 teams of 5 when we barely had a 5-man rotation, 4 rotation pieces out. Birch still jacked. Who's out? That's what I'm trying to say. Sure, maybe some of these guys are hurt, but that's part of the problem. Is like Gary was off the bench and we had some bench scoring. Now we put him in the starting lineup, and a lot of people are saying we should just keep him in the starting lineup. Well, now we don't have any bench without Gary being on the bench. So we got to figure it out. I'm a big proponent for mixing them up. Put like three top best players, OG, Pascal, and Fred in the starting lineup, and then put 2 role players in the starting lineup, a center and a point guard or some other player. It could be, it could be Scotty and Cam, and that's fine. But then you have it spread out so that there's good quality in both units. And that's something that the Pacers have. They have good quality in their second unit. And we don't have good quality in our second unit because things aren't spread out talent-wise. We're so highly concentrated in the top 5 and the starters. And any given night, Nick is just starting the best 5 available. So the bench suffers every single night. That there's no, that maybe the 4th best player on the team needs to be coming off the bench every night, no matter what. Maybe the 3rd best player, and keep it spread out. That's why I really like Gary off the bench, is because he does help the bench scoring. And it's just, oh my gosh, Mike, I don't understand how you think we're healthy. We're not healthy right now. We are healthy, other than these guys just showed back up. And there's only one guy missing. It's Otto. Starscream saying, yeah, Mathurin destroyed us one game as well. It's like our players don't read the scouting report on him. He had a ton of wide open shots. Once again, with rookies, there's not a lot of scouting reports on them. It's like you got to learn them from the first year. And then that's why in the second year, they're easier to guard because you actually have a book on them. And that's part of the problem with Mathurin. Is a lot of people don't understand totally who he is and how much he can do offensively. And he's catching them by surprise. Mike's saying, cool cat, facts though, on Fred's price dropping based on health and availability is in tandem with production. Teams do track and estimate health, but it's not like a massive drop number wise. Yeah, Fred's not helping himself with his bag this year. His money is going down because of how badly he's played this year. Cool Cat saying Fred not getting this recommended surgery is hurting his career, his money, and in his big picture. So bring on the tank. Find another versatile player, 6'8", plus retooling from draft, cheaper than trades. Yeah, I can agree with a lot of what Cool Cat said there. And I think this may end up being another mistake from this offseason that we didn't realize. Freddie, if you had taken that surgery instead of opting to just try and rehab it yourself, this year may have been going way better for you. And that may be a regret you have in the long term of your life, that you didn't take the surgery at the end of the season last year when you could have. And I hate that. I hate that in some ways. Monique is saying, my first game of the new year tomorrow. I'll update y'all here and there. Happy belated birthday, Kayla Gray. Yeah, Kayla Gray and Jack Armstrong's birthday yesterday. Quite a few birthdays at the beginning of the month in January. I think Chris Boucher's birthday is this week also. So, yeah, lots of birthdays around the Raptors organization right now. Happy birthday to all of them. And Monique, go down to the arena and bring that good, positive, winning vibe down there. We need you in the building to help the Raptors beat the Bucks tomorrow for sure. Name was saying, I agree. Why would a coach want to give the other team any extra motivation? I don't know why Jamaal Magloire is yelling at the other team and making them upset and making them come at us. Just stop, Jamaal. Just stop. We understand it's our house. But, it's not we're not holding it down the fort very well these days. Mike saying Fred can take the PO and Mulligan the contract year. Doughton was chewed out by Rico in the summer for being lazy on D, and he really turned up his effort and is moving his feet elite. IQ is mid at the moment. That's not true, though. His IQ is off the charts. He's a student of the game. He's studying stuff all the time. You can tell by the way he moves his body and where he's going to different spots. He's really paying attention. He knows what he's doing. I remember that clip from Rico Hines. What was happening was Jeff was being too aggressive and he was fouling everybody every play. That was why Rico yelled at him. It wasn't that he wasn't trying hard enough. He was trying too hard. And Fred got really mad at him one point because he kept hitting him on the arm. He said, and Rico basically said this. He said, y'all got to play right. You can't just be fouling everybody every which way. And that's what Jeff was doing wrong. If anything, he was overzealous on defense and maybe too much to the point where he was fouling every time. And that's what he had to dial back, is that he was fouling everybody too much. That's why he chewed him out. And that's why Fred got pissed at him too. Yeah, I think your read on Jeff Dalton's is a little different than mine. He really is studying stuff, and like he's like a coach in his mind. I think you got him wrong with the IQ thing. The dude is very much coach minded. He's looking at X's and O's. He really is understanding spacing and understanding the next best high percentage play in any given situation. In fact, he trains himself for this. That's why he's deciding whether he passes or shoots. He's very good at figuring this out, better than some of a guy like Malachi or Delano in a way, because he really does look at it and understand this a little bit better because he's a student of the game. Trust me. I think it was Samson Folk who talked to him this past summer, or Orrin Weisfeld. And they talked to him and they were like, holy crap, this dude really knows his shit. Like Jeff Doughton, above average for this among basketball players. Sure, a lot of them know a lot of this stuff, but he is a little bit more because he really cares and he's constantly looking at all this stuff, apparently. So I don't know. I gotta disagree with you on that one too. Mike's saying we've been injured. The bench was overspent and out of role. We have had bad luck, and coming out of it, blame individuals for luck of injury and being a young team is wild, in my opinion. All right, I'm already on the record for what I blame. Josh Monroe saying, "Who are we going to get to take Khem Birch's minutes? Would a trade be in the works to solve the bench production problems with a big and a veteran guard?" I just wish he would just use Khem. I hate seeing all these trades like with Khem's name always in it. Like, sure, Malachi, I can understand trading Malachi, or Gary, we might trade him because of the contract situation. But I hate seeing Khem's name in there because I really don't think we should trade him. I think he's something we need more of. We need more beef up front, and we need him for backup, or at least if he's not going to be the starting center, we're going to need him for backup for that look that we've been playing with no inside game defense for like a couple years now. That we've really been getting away with it and smoke and mirrors. And I don't like that. I'd like us to be a bona fide big team like other big teams and have real big players. And getting rid of Khem and trading him away goes in the wrong direction. But I have seen him in the deal for Pirtle. I've seen him in a couple of different deals that people are proposing around. And I don't like it. I see Wendy Sparks on Twitter talking about trying to get home to watch the game last night, and she's stuck on the highway, and the fans are giving her the updates on the score, and meanwhile her son's not even going to play in this game. It's like they care and they're really looking at it and they want her, the best for him. I don't understand this. What did Khem Birch do to you, Nick Nurse, that you won't play him? And I don't believe Mike that he's saying he's hurt. I don't believe that shit. I don't think he's hurt. He may be a little bit hurt, but I don't think he's hurt enough that he can't get out there and get effective minutes for us. So what the fuck did Khem Birch do to you, Nick? You need to play him. G saying, do you think Chris Finch leaving had an impact on the rotations? That's a good question. Do you think Chris Finch leaving had an impact on their rotations? I think we looked really good when he was around, even though it was Tampa season and we didn't have the right personnel and we had problems on the defensive end. I was really interested in Chris Finch and what he was going to do for us offensively, and I wanted to see. And I think this has hurt us that he left and went to Minnesota. It would have really helped if he was still around in our offensive coach. I don't really like Trevor Gleason's flex offense. I don't think that it's been effective. I think our offense being so shitty, we need to blame all the coaches that have to do with creating our offense in some ways right now, because our offense is so bad. And it has been bad for 2 years now. And I hate this. I hate this so much. And, we don't have any defense either this year. Well, we see who we are. This is who we are now. But, yeah, Chris Finch taking the job in Minnesota did really hurt us really bad at that time. I really believe that. Name was saying, I agree. You can't be condoning gun violence because athletes are so influential and there are tons of kids watching. Yeah, it's really like not cool. And if I was an NBA player, I wouldn't be promoting that shit. I wouldn't be doing those kind of hand motions and stuff. So please, Pascal, maybe cut it out. Jeff Doughton Jr., please. I don't think there should be that kind of place. And then you're going to say, oh, you're just trying to, this has an impact. Trust me. And it's not good. It's not good. There's a lot of people dying needlessly on the streets from gun violence in the United States. It's an epidemic. And it's like gotten to the point where it's not even safe for people to be in the malls, at movie theaters, or their children to even be in classrooms. That is how bad it is down there. And until they understand that all of the whole thing about it is part of what adds to it, the romanticizing of gun culture, of ops culture, is a big part of it in certain brackets of society, in certain people. And in some ways it's like it's not good. It's really not good. There's needless death. Fun guy saying, trust me, having a players only meeting is insinuating they value each other's leadership voices over the coach at the moment. Historically, it's always been some way related to the coach. No difference here. No, I disagree with this, fun guy. It sometimes has nothing to do with the coach. And in this case, it doesn't. Seriously. The players only meeting is when they want to take responsibility separate away from the coaches. And just because the coaches aren't there doesn't mean they're in there shit talking about the coach and what's pissing them off about the coach. No. And they made this very clear because they talked about in the interviews what they did at the players only meeting is they're pointing fingers at themselves and they're trying to get real with themselves and hold each other accountable, but within the players' social circle without the coaches involved. That's what it is. I think you're really confused about what players only meetings are about. Maybe in some other sports or in other teams this has happened, but this is not the case in the Raptors. I can tell you that for sure. That players only meeting wasn't about Nick Nurse and how they hate him and what he's doing to them. That has nothing to do with what they did. It was about effort. It was about rededicating themselves to playing quality Raptors basketball, the what that we're used to. That's what it was about. It had nothing to do with the coach. And once again, I'll disagree with you on that one, just like I'm disagreeing with Mike with a bunch of stuff today. G saying Mathurin got a call every second minute at one point. Somewhere definitely fouls, but Scotty was not getting the same calls. Yeah. And we got to wonder, how does that happen? A rookie who comes in like this, he gets calls all of a sudden. And we have a second-year player who's already been rookie of the year who doesn't get any respect in that way. Some of it is that Mathurin is very, very like overpowering, and he is forcing them to give him the fouls and put him on the line because he really is going in there aggressively and getting it done. And that's part of the difference. If Scotty was more aggressive in certain ways, he would get more of the benefit of the doubt in some ways. But some of it, he's just not going to. And it sucks. I hate it. But yeah, I'm wondering about that too. It's like, how does he get, he's a rookie, and how does he not get like bad calls because he's a rookie from the refs? He's already getting good calls. How is that? Why does that happen to certain players? And certain players it doesn't. Is it because of the team they play on? I hope that's not why. Name is saying, bro, are there any Canadian refs in the league at all? What the fuck? There's one Canadian ref. It's Matt Callio of Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And yes, he's very good to us. We win almost every game when he's reffing. Matt Callio. There's only one Canadian ref. That's it. Tom Duke's saying, yeah, that guy from Edmonton. Yeah, the one ref from Canada. That's right. Logical saying, has the Pacers been healthy? Yeah, they're in rhythm and won against the Clippers. Are the Clippers talking tank after? It takes a second to reboot. The bench doesn't magically go back to play in sync. Listen, Mike, I am going to disagree with you once again because we've been in the same place a couple times in the last 2 months where it's like, well, are we going to tank or are we going to win? And we don't know either way. And we've gone over this and we're like, okay, we're winning a little bit. It feels a little bit better. But boom, then another disappointing loss. And that's why we have to keep revisiting this. It's like these other teams aren't going these ups and downs as badly as we are. They're going on ups and they're doing well. And the record is well above 500. Meanwhile, we are not. We're not getting enough good things going. And that's the difference between the Pacers and us as far as like losses and freaking out. Yeah, of course the Clippers aren't freaking out from one loss to the Pacers. They have a winning record and they're fourth in the West. So it's like, look at where they are in the standings and stuff like that. That is what it has to do with it. We're just above Orlando. Yeah, that's why we're freaking out. Come on, Mike. Have a perspective that like pertains to the specific team and what's going on with them that actually seriously, that you can't compare what the Clippers in this situation and us. Yeah, we can freak out. And yeah, we can talk about tanking because we are in the tanking zone right now. Our record and where we sit in the standings is in the tanking zone. We are one of the fourth worst teams in the Eastern Conference right now. We are in the bottom four. That is okay. Anyway, Mike's saying also, okay, so everyone is interested in blame and pie in the sky solutions. We were injured hard and everyone making big leaps and thinking of off of it. has me not even touching any other stream at the moment. Tough one today. Well, let's put it this way, Mike. Listen, we don't have to do anything right now. We can just let the team be what it is and just let things happen. I don't care. I'm not going to play too much of a blame game. Sure, I'm blaming Nick. I'm blaming Fred. I'm blaming Bobby Webster to a degree. But in a lot of ways, it's like we just got to let them play through it and figure out this era of the Raptors right now and get through it. And hopefully a new chapter and a new era of the Raptors will start soon. And we'll get away from this middling, losing shit. And that's just how it is. It is what it is. We just got to keep going. And you know what? We take it as it comes, whether it's good or bad. And that's just how we're going to have to be this year on the Raptor Freak channel. We'll get back to that ultimate elite winning ways again, I'm sure. But it's not happening right now. It just isn't. Isaac Campbell saying we had the worst bench last year and no continuity in how the bench has been used this year. Mike, I was celebrating the way Nick Nurse was coaching earlier this year. We are reinventing the wheel each game. Yeah. I mean, there were times when he would use a rotation. I'd be like, yes, Nick, you did perfect. You did a good job. I'm not just like always on him. I'll give him the credit when he actually does the things that I'm seeing that he needs to do. But when he's not doing it and it's so bad, like so bad that he's overplaying the starters like last night, I got to point it out and call him out for it. I give him the kudos when he does it right. I'm like, you know what? He had really good rotations last night. And he played the guys really evenly in the right way. But it didn't happen last night. And I hate the bench problems we've had the last couple of years with our team. Actually, the last 3 years. It's really been since Tampa, too. Mike is saying, Isaac, I don't mean to paint everything with a brush. Definitely feeling I'm in the twilight zone after this game just because it's January. December happened the way it happened, and things are rebooting still. Whatever. It is what it is. And listen, Mike, I can tell you're kind of in a spacey mood today. You're not totally thinking clearly. You keep saying that. It may be that you didn't get a whole lot of sleep or who knows what's going on with you. But yeah, and Isaac's even saying it here. You aren't wrong in bringing up injuries, bud. Much respect. I just don't think we should use it as an excuse. We really shouldn't. We should have guys that are capable of next man up mentality, and the injuries are just things that we've had to deal with. G saying, I do believe Juancho and Boucher could have had some impact this game. They were driving to the rim effortlessly. Juancho is missing shots, but he cuts to the basket and does glue guy stuff. Yeah, I don't like how Juancho is just all of a sudden disappeared and not in a part of anything. There were a lot of good things he was doing, even if he wasn't hitting his shots. And in some ways, he probably could have helped us last night. I very much agree with this. And Boucher definitely should have played more. Pacers were driving effortlessly to the rim. Yeah, we needed somebody to just meet them and just kind of be a last line of defense because none of the guys we played in the rotation last night are actually good at that. Not Koloko, not Scotty. In some ways, the only guys that are good at this are Thad and Cam in some ways, and Precious when he's back and fully reintegrated and playing at the level he's supposed to be. Let's see. Nameless saying, I've officially lowered my expectations, so I cannot be hurt anymore. I'm just along for the ride. Yes, that's what we have to do. As Tom put it, the white flag or whatever he's waving. I'm just saying, look, it's going to be what it's going to be. We can't control it. We can't ride or die with our emotions with it, but we can still be there for them and see how it goes. And hopefully maybe things do turn around like Mike's saying. Like Mike is saying that he still thinks that we're going to be badass this year and we're going to figure it out. I wish I could believe it as much as him, but I don't right now. Mike's saying, we ain't tanking. We decided to start tanking 10 games below 500, and it was impossible to get anything other than the play-in mathematical. So till that happens, we're going for the playoffs. Whatever. Tap out. See, Mike's being the ultimate positive Raptors freak in some ways right now, and I respect that. And there ain't nothing wrong with that. And I wish I could believe like he does, but I'm trying to be realistic here. I'm trying to be realistic. Logical saying also, we have had the starters and half the bench out. So getting the stars back in rhythm was mission number one. And now the bench in sync is going to be now once guys are less exhausted playing right. Well, if we can catch a break and have some sort of health for some time with nobody more guys getting to the injury list or anything like that, that'd be good. Cool Cat saying, Coach David Thorpe podcast, he said he worked with Pascal over the summer. He's worried that Coach Nurse's system would shorten Pascal's career, how hard he rides him, even though starting B-ball late. Yeah, this is something I worry about too. Nick, you're going to overplay these guys in a losing season and shorten their careers? Come on, man. You need to balance this shit out, bro. You really, really do. I don't want you to shorten Pascal's career just because you're overplaying him in this season right now. I really don't like the idea of that at all. And then Coach David Thorpe is worried about this. Yeah, I'm worried about it too. Mike's saying Doughton's NBA IQ is mid, not basketball IQ mid. Doughton needs to get speed of the NBA and isn't the best IQ wise on the NBA level. Man, you're missing my point. Doughton needs more NBA experience. NBA IQ is mid at the moment. I don't agree with this. I don't. Because honestly, when we see him out on the court, he's not making a lot of mistakes. He's making the right play more often than not. I don't see bad things from Jeff Doughton. I have not seen him miss a lot of shots where it looks like he's not capable as a shooter. He makes his shot more often than not. I don't see him miss defensive assignments very often. I see him active and engaged and like getting in passing lanes. I see him even rebounding as a guard and getting and mixing it up down there. I just don't get this. I don't get this. I don't see him making mistakes. If the whole thing about basketball IQ is being smart enough to make the next winning play in the next moment, Jeff Doughton's really good at that because he's really good. Like, didn't he have a block at the end of an NBA game recently that helped us win? I think it was the Detroit game or something. We had a game where Jeff Doughton made a block in the last minute of the game that was absolutely very big play that helped us win. That's a high IQ guy. That he's getting a block at the end of the game to help us win. So I completely disagree on this one, Mike. Jeff Doughton's a smart player and he has a high IQ. And you may think there's a difference between the NBA level and this, but still, reading the floor and understanding plays and how basketball works is the same at different levels. Just the talent's better. That's all the difference. And I think he can play at the NBA level fine. He shows he's very capable. And once again, Malachi looks way worse when he's out there making mistakes every which way. And Jeff isn't. And that's why isn't Jeff playing? Why isn't Jeff playing is what I'm saying. Isaac's saying Doughton plays hard and could play at the moment under a team with a traditional NBA center. Doughton has the same trouble finding Malachi Flynn type minutes on a positionless roster. I think he's just like he's in a pecking order and Nick's got to let these other guys have a chance before. But I don't agree with that either. You know, if he was really, really like all about anybody can come and get minutes at any time, he would really reward guys who just come up out of the blue all of a sudden. Instead of going by like longevity or like, Malachi's worked so hard at this point. Fuck that shit. Let him leapfrog him and go ahead and take those minutes if he's a better choice at that point. That's what I'm saying. I don't agree with Nick's choices. I don't think he's being smart about not playing Kem Birch to seal out the low post defense. I don't think he's being smart about Jeff Doughton's a better backup point guard right now at this point, and he should be getting Malachi's minutes in some ways right now. These are decisions he makes. And I don't think they're very smart. I think I can see that the opposite is the way he should have went on both of those. So anyway, all right. Mike is saying also, standings changes how you should react. We've been hurt, and I don't think the record says what this team is, and it's not clear. I don't know how to say it. Yes and no, because last year we had the same issues. Remember this, Mike. We had injuries pretty consistently all last year also, and there's just different things. The things I'm looking at is closing out games. The things I'm looking at is the quality of certain things that we've done in our culture as a Toronto Raptors for years that aren't there at this point. They were there last year, even though all the things were kind of the same, but this year we're lacking them. There's certain things you have to do to win games consistently in the NBA, and we are not doing them. And that's why I'm way more worried about this year than last year. If you watched me last year, the whole season, you would have seen I was very positive and never like this at any point in the season where I was saying, I don't think the Raptors – I would say the Raptors are going to get the playoffs no matter what, and they're going to do this because I believed in them all last year through all that adversity. But this year's different. Because this year they're showing that they're not doing certain things that are absolutely essential for them to win. And whether it's the clutch shooting, the taking over and managing the game at the end of the game is gone at this point. That they do not effectively do that like they did last year. So this is why I'm more panicked and like saying this now than last year because there's different things happening that are worse than last year. So yeah, this record is bad. It's very bad. It's so hard to get up over 500 again. And we're going the wrong direction. At this point, after Boxing Day last year, we started to go up in the new year. We had a win streak right away at the beginning of the new year last year. Well, we're not doing that right now. And there's no guarantee we're going to get ourselves pulled up out of 500 at this point. So Name was saying, why is there only one Canadian ref in the league? Is that supposed to represent how many teams we have or something? I don't know. I don't know. And he's newer too. So, they're trying. Maybe they have some more Canadian refs coming up through the G League ranks and we just don't know about yet. So hopefully we'll see more representation in that. I don't think it's a huge deal, but it would be nice if we had more Canadian refs, I guess. Mike saying, I got great sleep. I watched the game right before the stream and had a clear picture of the game. Maybe that's what I mean. Twilight Zone with doubt. And I've seen a bit of crazy feet in recovering. That's just him scrambling. All right. Well, all right. You had a clear head and stuff like that. All right. That's fine. Maybe I'm the one who's not totally clear right now. I don't know. Either way, I don't want to argue this anymore. And I'm going to try and wrap this up. We're almost at 2.5 hours. And I know I'm almost to the close of the end of the comments. And I appreciate the 15 that are still here at this point. I know we've gone up and down with the numbers of who've been in the stream at this point. And it's kind of been dragged out in a lot of repetition. So I understand. Monique saying W stream Lex, regardless of the outcomes, usual. Keep it at it. Better days. Stay positive, everyone. Raptors forever. Yes, Monique always keeps it in perspective. Keep positive. Let things happen the way they're going to. And someday down the road, things are going to get better. They'll turn around. G saying Doughton is on a two-way and believe that limits games he can play. Maybe they haven't converted him yet, waiting to see if any trades for us. This is actually something that occurred to me, what G's saying, that maybe part of the reason why Jeff's not getting into some games is that they do have a limited amount of games they can play a two-way, and that would make sense. Well, that makes me want to say, well, just convert his ass. Just do it. Name is saying, I'm so glad all of you are here with me, and I really appreciate all of you and varying opinions. So thank you, everybody here. Thank you, Nameless. And I appreciate you guys, too, for being here. And, we work through it. It is what it is. The stream's not easy when we lose and the stuff happens like it did, but it is what it is. And we just got to keep being real ones and just keep going along with the ride. Yeah, Tom Duke's got the pirate flags out. Yeah, let's just be a pirate ship with our Raptor five starters. I want to see more dinosaurs though, Tom. Can you expand this past 5 guys? Maybe make this 8 or 9 dinosaurs next time, because that may be part of it, Tom. You see in your game plan, you say, oh, there's only 5 dinosaurs here. Only play the 5 starters. So let's see the rest of the bench, you guys, not just the 5 dinosaurs anymore. W stream, real ones. G saying, I'm positive regardless of direction. It's about winning chips. And if that means a bad year to fix things, so be it. That is the long-term perspective. And I remember, G, last year you were so positive about things, even when they were dark and we were moving towards things, and you have not changed. Your personality on this channel has been very consistent, and I do really appreciate it. Often you are a voice of reason in dark times, and I do appreciate that. And on long-term perspective, we are going to get this figured out. Everything's going to be fine. I'm going to really wrap this up, guys. So these are the last 2 comments. Mike saying, G, he's overworking at the moment from some indecisive movements, but is recovering to play most times. But that could be an issue with longer minutes. I don't know if you're talking about Jeff Doughton still. And Cool Cat saying, we're not good enough. Pascal is the only consistent player of a chip level. OG's consistent only on defense. Scotty, year 2 development. Gary Trent Jr. not consistent. Fred's off. Draft for quality rookies. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Last year, I felt like we were good enough still. This year, I don't think we are. I think that we have to do too much perfectly to get to W's, and that's not the sign that we're not a winning team, that we have problems with this team, and it sucks. Oh, well, we're going to do what we can do and just be fans. I appreciate y'all for being here on this super long stream after a loss, and I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. Tomorrow we'll do the preview for the Milwaukee game. Hopefully we can turn the tide and get a win tomorrow night against the Bucks. That'll help things so much. This is really how it is. We're up and down like this. Whether it's a loss, then we're down. If it's a win, we can get back up. Peace out, Tom Duke. I appreciate y'all. Please like, comment, subscribe, and share. And let's go